All right, good afternoon, members. We now rise back from recess. Right before recess, I had the floor. I was just asking a couple of clarifying questions. And so, just to continue from where we left off, I just wanted to ask Mr. Taisagui when the review panel met to discuss the second round of stimulus. How does that? How did the? I guess what's the discussion around the second round of? Sorry, not stimulus boost. The second round of boost awards. How did or what was that criteria to decide whether a certain company should get a second round of award? And how did the review panel decide which companies to provide the second round of award?
Time na finogi finina ane gumaino na oportunidade ni paraguaha no poma discutir kau para uma conseguir second round no e opinion no is malena tanoi disia estaman manoi cosa que sinya manina ajuda no ni idunia no business plan.
Just as I had mentioned earlier, when the time came to proceed with the second round, it is my opinion that those who were given awards in the first round should be given in the second round as well to assist and to help their business plan.
All right, thank you. But not everyone who were awarded in the first round got a second round of boost. So how did the panel determine which companies will get a second round of boost award?
Ti munana jan tabi process no ni oggi porofan ma siya no gipofan manoi siya second round. Ini ke opinion no.
Process is not done yet. It is not yet. It is my opinion that process is not done yet. It is my opinion that the determination has not been completed. Is that correct?
How can you state that the process is not done when there's no money left? And as you have stated earlier, that there wasn't a finite amount of funds that will be coming in. So how did that help you to determine how further you're gonna go along with this second round of boost?
Tilikuna tauza salapi, loy salapi dumididi. Pues sige na lekuna zangingwai na oportunidade na porofan manoi no second round ne pues ufan manoi ijisia estaman manoi zofan ina ajuda ni dunia business plan.
I didn't say there was no money. I said the money is decreasing. And that is why I said that those who were awarded the first round should be given consideration for the second round.
Okay. But what percentage of the second round, or how did the panel determine a percentage as to how to provide the second round of boosts to businesses you are wanting to help finish up, when even with the second round that may not be enough to fulfill their total requests?
The percentage is basically it's a collective consensus of the committee. Ti kumikilig niya na iji joku no na percent pamparewan lo At the end of the day, debidi na ba yung fan adanya zata ba yung fan agree na jigi na percent para umat bangsa watu gi gobyerno.
It doesn't mean that my percentage is the same as others, and that is why at the end of the day, we have to meet collectively to arrive at the consensus.
Okay, but what is the reasoning behind providing additional award when it's not even close to meeting their full requests? I mean, you're not, where would these businesses even get the remaining portion of what they really need to fully operate this new business that many have been applying for?
Gender commerce na kuha talo na programa ti maolok SSBCI. Pues inigi iji gaigi gi rubrics na linya ko guaha additional or other funding sources. No gi opinion no tunguha na ti faina destin na mau lo guaha no otro na funding opportunity na istisya parewa man manoy za tinahong pati man manoy sinyaha no mausa istin na programa para ufan no inajudaji ni poma complete with niya business plan.
Under commerce, there are other programs such as the SSBCI. In my opinion, there are other funding options. As stated in the rubrics, it asks for other funding options, and in my opinion, these other programs should be utilized by businesses.
Man manoy ti man manoy todo pati man manoy.
Whether they were given their full amount or not.
But have you referred any of these businesses to the SSBCI
It's not a referral basis law.
or even recommend to these businesses to seek other sources of funding?
I think no gi doko appearance gi KKMP dan loki doko appearance gi a Rotary Club no luncheon uminsyon siya publicly.
At my appearance at KKMP and Rotary Luncheon, I mentioned these programs.
Thank you. In the interest of time, I will yield for any to any clarifying questions. Well, I'll take one each from the next two, and then we'll go on to any other questions that members have regarding the program. So I recognize Rep. Staffler and then Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for coming back after lunch. I'm glad you mentioned the SSBCI program. Is that a program that you are very familiar with?
Yes.
So with that program, does it have like oversight requirements and other compliance requirements?
Guaha izonya siya no requirements, rules and reg under US Treasury.
Would you say this program is similar to the Boost program?
Ti parel.
Very different?
Yes.
How is it different?
This is a loan base. It is a grant.
A loan based.
Mm.
I see. So loans or grants, both of them are giving money away, or not
No,
giving money away, but giving giving funding to support a plan, and both do have a requirement for their submission. Correct?
SSBCI program na guida siya na programa para siya na businesses ni tisinya no manado gi bangko gi traditional commercial loan.
Did you want? Okay. And so if it's a non-traditional loan, this boost funding was also kind of non-traditional. Would you say that why wouldn't you think that requirements, or let me rewind. Do you feel that there should be some compliance and oversight requirements for the boost, just like in the SSBCI?
That's over my scope.
Okay. So you participating as a review panelist, that's your only scope.
That is my only scope.
As a participant, knowing what you know about SBCI, were you concerned that there were not similar requirements and the boost?
At the time in review say, the concern no.
You were not concerned. Why not?
Sa Izokurogwi is very specific. No, temana izileko na no offer available na process is basically esto menciona gi titsago ka na tempo.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Recognize Vice Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Taisagui,
Mm.
welcome back to the House Chamber. Can you explain your role again as a panelist? What was your role?
Izokuro is I repeat it talo.
Malika?
Izokuro is basically to review business plans, to submit for discussion, then loquit to arrive at a collective consensual recommendation ni para matbansa hulugat to the governor.
Of the other panelists, no?
Yeah.
Okay, so the panelists also recommended the amount of money?
We all come out with our recommendation, but at the end of the day, we need to have a consensus before it is forwarded up.
Okay. Okay, earlier when I asked you a few questions, you said that the Secretary of Finance was the person in charge of the funding source, correct?
To my understanding.
When you were answering a question by Rep. Staffler earlier, that mentioned you had mentioned that the source of funding was depleting. Correct?
That's easy sa gitutun $10 million na pues ang ginesto na award you know udi pliplig mo
But you
ano
and you brought that concern to the panel
ane
it's
po ma
much-
extendi
when they were when they were going to do the
yeah.
extension.
Mm.
But you also mentioned at the same question that it was Will Costro that said that there's going to be more money infused into
Kani
the
po ma
program.
extendi talo
Okay, but the more previous answer, your
Mm.
previous answer said that the Secretary of Finance is responsible the financial portion of it. But yet you're taking the recommendation of the Chief of Staff that new monies were going to be infused into the program.
tutungo ko recommendation pad information asa nga ngadizo na no parogwaha no talo infusion holo
Let's just say that's information,
mm.
and you took that from as true to his word, no?
I think so.
Okay, just because there's a spending plan to the ARPA program, and U.S. Department of Treasury approves the spending plan.
Beyond my scope not too.
So whose
I'm
scope?
not no knowledgeable no.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. So in your opinion, whose scope is it amongst the three of you guys?
Not on the panel, but as a Secretary of Finance, that's his scope.
True, but wouldn't the Secretary of Finance say the $10 million came initially from the Secretary of Finance as part of the ARPA spending plan for the CNMI?
Tungo no off-I source lo inigi ma-mensiona na 10 million guaha para ben roll up.
But very clear with the boost program that he says it's ARPA monies as a grant because it was supposed to be a loan, but the ARPA rules and regulation does not allow it to be a loan. They can do it as a grant, correct?
To conversation that I heard, yes.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying this because you had mentioned that on the webpage it says all of these stuff, and within the webpage
Okay.
it also speaks that the ARPA program
Okay.
only allows for
Okay.
grant purposes, correct?
Okay.
Okay. So when you get back to the second round, you haven't reviewed all the other applications yet for recommendation to the governor, correct?
Okay.
But yet you've already, who brought up the option of having a second round of ARPA to these specific businesses?
See Mr. Castro.
To Mr. Costa.
Nagwais on your email to that effect.
Okay. Do you have a copy of that email that you can provide the committee?
I don't have a copy of that.
So who was the email to?
I think it was emailed to the committee.
To the committee.
Yeah.
And you're a member of the committee.
No, I was to recall ko masisi copies pa rin no.
Maybe, Mr. Chairman, if we can get that document from Mr. Taisagui as part of the record. I ask this because the committee has not fulfilled all applicants for the boost program, but yet they've already made a decision to give additional funds to applicants that have received.
Mm.
And in the same time, you had mentioned earlier that if it's going to help their program and you've reviewed their business plan, that they should push additional monies to them. But yet, how is it that in less than a week you can already determine that to give them the additional funds?
It's beyond my knowledge ko i-tempo, ti recall i-tempo ko in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks.
And
Law,
by,
law base gi communication na paragwaha meeting talo po makonsidera no i-second round.
tonight, when was that meeting, the second round? Because these monies have been pulled out already.
Kasi no, I'm guessing talo yun yan. Between October and November? No?
For the first round or the second round?
Pare second round.
Second round. So the recipients of the first round, when were those sent out then?
Let's see. I don't recall. You know.
Do we say October?
Could be.
Could be October.
Mm.
But you also said that you heard about the program in April of 2022, no?
Ungan.
And you got involved in August of 2022.
Anay ma-designado kumugwaho para by representa i Secretary of Commerce gi
On
review
the
panel.
review panel.
Ungan.
When was the first review panel meeting after you were designated? Because according to Secretary De Leon Guerrero, he was never a sitting member of the review panel. So it should have been sometime in late August or September.
Kalan August, yeah.
The initial stage when you guys met, how many applicants were there already?
I don't recall the numbers.
You don't recall? Can we say less than 20?
I'll be guessing.
More than 20?
I'll be guessing.
Well, I don't want you to guess,
Yeah.
but if the time period, so obviously you heard of the boost program in April of 2022. So somebody's got an advantage here in the application process. Because majority of the individuals that had submitted their application was in September, October, and possibly November. And a lot of these applicants that received a big chunk of money did so after the extension periods.
This is by comment, no advantage over the others.
Well, I'm just saying that the dates tells that there's an advantage somewhere.
I don't know. I
You
cannot comment on that.
Yeah, but you mentioned na April 2022. So
Na become no familiar no
fair.
it come to my attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield for now.
Thank you. Just one clarifying based on those questions. You mentioned a lot of this beyond my scope. Mr. Taisui, what are you mentioned that the only thing that you do is review applications, nothing further.
Ungan.
That's your only role within this whole boost program.
Ungan.
Okay. Have you ever flown the Rota or Tinian as part of this boost program?
Ungan.
What is your role then?
That's commerce.
What do you mean commerce?
As an employee of commerce.
Even if it was being paid by Banco Saipan?
Yeah, even and get. Yeah.
So what would be commerce's role with Banco Saipan in going down the Rota for the boost program or going down to Tinian for the boost program?
To provide technical assistance.
Commerce providing technical
Yes.
assistance to?
Mm.
In what sense? Under the Boost program, I thought Commerce, the only thing that Commerce does with the Boost program is assigned one member on the review panel.
No, ano mono para luta na, basically para ben provide technical assistance. No, anay yeah, to provide technical assistance it's again na umano para luta.
Can you describe what type of assistance Commerce provides?
I giza luta i requirements no para submiti in manintrisaw siya no ma-instructrago para na complido i dunia packets. Dan lokwi no uno neno na dokumento na debidi na umana complido izi i certificate of existence. Pues manono ham guatugi as commerce para benayan no na technical assistance.
So you help these applicants prepare the application for Boost, and then you also review them when you get back?
No guahasya no officinanya no mansauno gweno tat kumo i SBDC i Mango Jan lokwi i Commerce i Department of Finance mansauno gweno siya.
You don't see that as a conflict, seeing as how you're in the review panel and will be having to review these applications later on?
Tiulihi i application siya sa timan mo na dyan sa timan man sa mimiti i aplikasyon.
Right, but you're helping them with the process.
Of course, that's is on Mommy Rogue Commerce is basically to assist no entrepreneurs. So I do not see any conflict on that. Tutungulokwi ko eno na participant Mommy gano ni provide no assistance as our Rogue Commerce. Jan lokwi
I
gibus.
understand that, but because your role is already to review these applications, wouldn't it, to avoid any conflict, assign someone else from Commerce to go there?
Ileko na gipinono gano gi conflict na debidi na taatan iligo no definition of a conflict ne. Sa kinimprende ko gi conflicts is basically kogwaha is omo financial interest. Kogwaha is omo business relationship. Taja gida luta is oku business relationship ni hununua gida luta ni sinya baisangan ni man nahalum no aplikasyon. Gi definition lokyo geno gi conflict ne. Ko man sasaw no is omo immediate family. Immediate family by definition ne. Sinanomo, si tatomo, che lumo, no? Taja no is oku immediate family ni man aplika gistibus na pabe considera jo na conflict jo tenike. Sa zanggien usenti tay manwa ni jo songan gini gi egaan na anay madesigna jo para berepresenta i Secretary of Commerce gi review panel u asun maisa jo lokwe sa tunguha na guaha tenike joku conflict in which u recuse jo. Sa guai joku sangana na guaha joku financial interest gi kumpanya jan lokwe guaha joku no business associates gi kumpanya.
Okay.
Lo poden na question mo na Congressman Manglonya na pod luta. I don't think na guai joku conflicts giza luta. Taja joku immediate family na man aplika ginin luta.
No, it's not about your relationship with the
No,
people
but
of
I'm just
Rhoda.
no.
My question is the process. Is there a conflict with the process? But we'll get to the whole conflict issue later. I mean,
Mm.
I'm not saying that there's a conflict between you and someone you may be related to in Rhoda, but the process of helping with applications versus reviewing them later on as a panel member. I'm not talking about your familial relationships or personal relationships.
Mm.
I'm just talking about the process of reviewing applications versus the process of helping someone get their applications in. And so,
I don't think there's a war, your opinion. No, I don't think there's conflict. Then no, sa we
okay,
execute is no
your answer,
responsibility como
Mr.
commerce.
Thaisego, your answer is recorded. You don't
Okay.
think there's conflict. Thank you. At this time, I open the floor to the members, and I recognize Rep. Joel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Mr.
Good
Tyson.
afternoon, Joe.
I want to ask. I know you mentioned earlier that you guys, the review panel, reviewed applications in batches. That's correct, right?
Okay.
But did you ever review any applications together
Gua na biya.
with the other panelists?
Sangin taigi uno na. Gua na biya na todos na tres, gua na biya na dosa.
And were there any other people at these review panel hearings aside from the panel members?
Toza.
Just the panel members.
Yes.
Were there ever times where it would just be one of you guys individually that would come up to the review area and review applications?
Toza review area gi pangkop site pa. Logo ha ini sa conference room.
So, yeah, because we've heard something differently from the last few witnesses that came in.
The witness just stated that there's no review room at the Bank of Saipan, but they have used the conference room.
Is that the main area where applications are reviewed? That's at Bank of Saipan?
Ungkan i Bangkok Saipan.
That's where the box is at located,
No i boxes man matsutsuli
which is the second floor,
Ungkan.
Bank of Saipan.
Ungkan.
Many applicants requested more than they were actually awarded, a few more than they requested. Who recommended the amounts to approve? Was it just the panel members?
Toza jo ko recollection ko gua no tayo no i mos no man i kino no i application niya.
Okay. On November 14, Mr. John Arroyo notified Mr. Will Castro and David Atalik, which is SOF, of having received a proposal from Nonstop Corporation for marketing, promotions, and advertising. He asked for an approval and for formal commitment to reimburse Bank of Saipan for any and all advances made to Nonstop and or its contractors. This was stated by Mr. John Arroyo. How were the decisions regarding boost contracts made for subcontractors?
Dispensa no congressman no beyond its open scope ti sumasunod so per contract tutungo per contract siya.
So you were not aware on any announcement or ITB invitation to bid for these subcontractors or these contractors like Nonstop?
Not to my knowledge.
And why did Mr. Arroyo ask for approval of a contract with Bank of Saipan?
Dispensa that's beyond my scope.
For the Fisher Farmer Rancher program, who was on the review panel for that? Was it the same people that reviewed the small
I
businesses?
have no knowledge utungan at ti sumasunod so gano.
You're not part of that review
No,
panel
no.
process. So who is?
I have no knowledge on that.
Would that be Bank of Saipan?
I have no knowledge on that.
Why was Miss Karen Callen on the review panel for the Farmer Fisher review program?
Kay mano ko na taje jo ko knowledge gano sa ti sumasunod so gano.
So you're not part of that at all.
I
You just do strictly with the
small businesses.
small businesses.
Ganun.
Okay. My last question is more subjective. Mr. Arroyo has informed the committee that about $15 million on ARPA money was allocated for the boost program, and about just a little over 240 applicants have been awarded, aside from the thousands of applications that were given out, so or were submitted. My question to you is, how do you feel about that? That just a little over 240 people, about over $10 million was allocated for them specifically. How do you feel about that?
Te mano itu sangan na congressman gikan na gikun emprendeko na ti stimulus este na program no pesunggan gua aten ki man resibi gua man resibi no este no menciona gikan na pago kang danggem pom fa faisen so pago ne senenteko pago na nesta gua experience ko no man malofan siya. There's always room for improvement. Tisina na para ba insima pago senenteko po rin no logi at that time na utsotsogi alpha debi pabetsogi kumu madesigna zo representa i Secretary of Commerce ki review panel.
My last question, Mr. Chairman. Forgive me, I don't know if I walked in late, but I just wanted to go back and maybe if you can just reiterate what was the reason why Mr. Edward De Leon Guerrero, Secretary of Commerce, why did he recuse himself as a panel member?
I cannot speak on the Secretary of Commerce. Tada iti sinabay sa ngonyo pago i no afaisin zo pabay para bay o adesigna zo.
So he did not notify you that there was maybe a potential conflict, or because he did relay to the committee that he had recused himself, and then he had put you in his stead.
Unggan no adesignate do para bay yo representa ko.
He didn't describe to you or explain to you as to the reason behind that?
Taza ijwa no ilegna na by designate daw como ogo representant ko sa ogo director of Economic Development Division.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tessiur. You, Mr.
Thank you,
Chairman.
Rep. Camacho. I recognize, co-chair and then Rep. Saban.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Taisagi, you had mentioned earlier that it is your opinion that those who were given the first round deserved or was given consideration, priority, to give them a second round of awards. Who made that decision?
Collectively, no decision ma mensiona logo gi opinion no na jangin sa kaso pero guys tin oportunidad the second round y opinion no na no tajuda e siya estaman manoi cosa que sinya no ufani na juda no ni junya business plan.
But if the intention, the true intention was to help as many as possible, is that, in your opinion, also helping everybody to give a second award to those who have already been awarded the first round? Is that
Taimana finone
helping?
na gikon emprendeko ti stimulus program este.
But there were others, sir, that were overlooked. The intention was to help as many businesses as possible.
Unggan, intention kay gi no gi
Yes.
subject to availability of funds na.
But you already gave company A 100,000. And then you, according to you, it was the collective consensus of this review committee to give them a second award when you hadn't even considered company B, who is still waiting for their application to
Zangin.
receive word whether it was complete. Many of these businesses never even got word back whether, feedback, whether their applications were complete, whether it is under consideration, whether it is under review, at what stage. They don't even know. So that was, in your opinion, fair as you have mentioned earlier, you said it was your opinion that this was executed fairly and equitably.
Tiusangan fairly and equitably na ililikwa na jangging parogwaha na putinidot no parogwa second round. Pues utunguha na isalapi dun mididi ganakwa na tajuda istisya este man manoi kosa kufanina juda ni dunia business plan.
Having said that, the witness alluded that he has continued to restate that those, in his opinion, it is the best practice to give the companies who are awarded the first round so they can have an opportunity to complete their business plans or to advance their application, their business plans.
Malago sa by correct the best practice iliko.
Okay, it was better. That was
Na
the
maulig
better.
niya ha.
It is better that they be awarded a second
The fund
Boost
na
awards.
juda gito niya business plan.
so that they can be helped. We'll get around to that. Who is the contractor for the Boost website?
Tazi sa knowledge na ino timin baufugan.
Okay. Fair enough. You said that you were providing technical assistance when you traveled to Rhoda and Tinian. So you were wearing your commerce hat, your
Ungan.
economic development director hat. Is
Ungan,
that correct?
ungan.
At what point did you wear your committee to elect Ralph Torres hat?
At no time.
Are you a member of the committee to elect?
Ungan.
So there was no political mention of this being
Taza
used.
political mention gito.
Okay. If you were providing technical assistance as the economic development director, are you in charge of issuing those certificates of existence?
It's again ang kinigwato is mommy staff para u chogui i office niya issuance of a certificate of existence.
So it's the staff that issues these.
Ungan.
Who signs off on these?
I Secretary of Finance, Secretary of Commerce.
Secretary of Commerce. So
Mm.
technically, as the economic development director, you had no relevance in the
Unga.
providing of the
Unga.
certificate. In what way?
Assisting no iji siya manggagigwi sa gwag question niya peso OOP question niya.
Wouldn't the staff be able to answer those questions?
No certificate of existence and a business plan no technical assistance is two different things.
Technical assistance and business plan are two different.
Technical assistance for business plan writing.
So you provided technical assistance for business plan writing.
Yes.
How is that not a conflict as a review panelist of you helping businesses write their business plans versus others who did not have that opportunity? And how is that not a conflict? That their business plans would be written better because you have this experience.
Firstly, uninsurance no write the business. I don't write the business plan.
You said you help.
I helped
In what way?
in basically no answering questions in terms of no offer elements i business plans.
And what are those elements?
The elements are basically marketing analysis, no company informations, no products and services, no basically a financial plan. Those are the major elements in a business plan.
Are you aware that an exit plan is also part of a business plan?
Exit plan.
Yes.
Ungan.
And was that included in all of these business plans?
The exit plan no sa po di grant is ti just ti loan pues ti mompus in intensive na business plan write up.
Okay.
Ti pareo zangin paron na submitin no business plan para bangko na ma-functional tanikin ni financial projections no financial balance sheets and todo ito.
You said you had no knowledge of who is on the Fisherman Farmer Rancher Review Committee. Is that correct?
I have no knowledge and I'm not involved in that no program.
But this is one boost program, right? Una gana boost program. Zagwaha siya hale niya.
Ngan,
Talo.
ngan.
So if you are a review panelist for the boost program, why would you not be a review panelist for the other applications that are coming in?
Its Oco scope is basically a review panel by small businesses. Ti pareo no otro siya na programa.
So it is your testimony that you do not know who sits on the other review
I
committees.
have no knowledge on that.
You mentioned that one of the criteria you look for in a business is uniqueness,
Ngan.
no? How would you know a company is unique if you haven't reviewed other applications?
Sa
You had a stack.
istaka na eh.
Will Castro had a
Mhm.
stack. Supposedly, Secretary of Finance had a stack.
Mhm.
But you also mentioned you don't exchange stacks.
We discuss, we submit for discussion.
So how do you know, how do you, Mr. Jesus Taisugi, know that a business is unique?
Ang gino-review i-business plan, inigi na elements o atan. No? The taimano iliko often na klaseng uniqueness o atan. Ko guizaha isti na klaseng kompanya provide isti na klaseng product and services but megagay na kompanya no ma-provide isti. Yotro na uniqueness no atan i ko no promote isti izota no cultural traditions ko aka complement isti izota tourism industry no enigi siya wa atan.
Okay, you mentioned cultural traditions, and that is part of being unique. Is that correct?
To my understanding nga.
The museum in Rhoda was awarded a Boost Award, correct?
I believe so.
You believe so or you know so?
I would say I know so. Yeah.
Okay. There's an individual who's had a business in Tinian
Mm.
promoting cultural artifacts, specifically sinahids and spondylus. If they were in the same category, why was Tinian not afforded that same opportunity to promote our culture? The same way Luta Museum was. Is that fairness?
Sinya kasi ti mag-grab galo ni stack tabiya.
I'm sorry?
Sinya kasi ti mag-grab galo ni stack o to grab galo ni stack.
So you have every intention of going back to the stack and reviewing other applications?
Unggan.
How? There's no funding. Are we giving false hope to these companies?
Ki comprende ko i-aplikasyon siya no teniki fan ma-review based on funding availability. No? Pesyanan anilele ko na sinya ha benono tati jangin gwa ha funding. Jangin gwa ha available funding. So jangin toja na
You already know there's no funding as of today.
not to my knowledge, yeah. Sa insanganganizo na no funding.
Do you keep a list of who was awarded?
O relying on information gi Bank of Saipan sa siya no custodian sa siya program administrator.
But as a panelist, wouldn't you?
No, I don't keep those things. Once we no jangin mo na stand review, stand no in render jun mommy no izokun no recommendation, and we arrive at a collective no consensus no zamano hulo esta para I governor no timang kipun no siya na class in record.
There's so many violations of federal grants when you don't keep documents and when there's no rubrics. But I'll leave the other members to ask those questions in line with that. I yield for now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I recognize Representative Blanc.
Thank you, chairs, and good afternoon, Mr.
Good afternoon.
Testigui. So just a reminder, sir, you understand that you are still under oath,
Okay.
and you are proficient in English, correct?
Sini kasi no lo masuk comprendernya gi linguaje.
Mhm.
I understand better in my language.
Thank you, Chair. And what language did the review panel use during discussions of the boost grant applications?
Guanit Chamorro.
Sometimes it's in Chamorro.
Usually, what language?
Mix English dan Chamorro go fumuno Chamorro.
And what language did you use with Mr. Will Castro?
Chamorro okay.
Mr. Will Castro speaks
mix.
fluent Chamorro?
Oh, atu nga fumuno Chamorro si.
I'm asking you. Very fluent Chamorro?
Appling.
Hmm.
Appling alludes to not really fluent in.
So you sometimes spoke
language.
to him in English?
Guana biay.
Sometimes.
Mix.
Okay. And in exercising your right to speak Chamorro today,
Mm.
you are, of course, not trying to be difficult with the members of these committees who may be less fluent, are you?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, answer's no.
And you're not trying to limit the ability of members of the media to understand you, are you?
Yeah.
Answer's no.
And you're not trying to limit the ability of members of the public who may not speak Chamorro and are listening today, are you?
Answer's no.
And what about law enforcement authorities or investigators? Are you trying to limit their ability to understand your testimony today?
Yeah.
Okay. And you understand, right, that you are compelled to testify truthfully, whatever language you choose to speak today.
Ungan.
Thank you. Before Boost, sir, did you ever evaluate grant applications?
Yeah.
Never.
Yes.
Did you ever evaluate business plans?
Business plan. Guana ba ni manggizo business plan para izoku no associates.
For your business associates?
Yes.
Sometimes I write business plans for my associates.
Okay. And was the Secretary of Commerce aware that you had no experience evaluating grant applications when he appointed you to do that for the Boost program?
Kiniki izoku no duties and responsibilities as the economic development no director.
That is my part of my responsibilities as the Economic Development Director.
But you had no previous experience looking at grants.
That is izoku no previous experience.
I have no previous experience.
Did any businesses submit their applications in Chamorro?
Yeah.
All of them were in English.
Ungan.
Okay. And you were able to evaluate them just fine.
Evaluate. To evaluate a business plan of Arjuna business plan.
The business plans in English, you were able to evaluate them.
Ungan.
Okay. So you are very proficient then. You've already stated that you did not keep any score sheets of your reviews of applications, correct?
Ungan.
Okay. And did you take any notes at all during your reviews of these applications?
Not that I recall.
You didn't write anything down.
Yeah, kasi.
Did you not think that it was important to keep any records at all for this program that is distributing public funds?
Kuha record na keep.
Which
Which
records?
is it's in a record ilista ni manahono para i-gobyerno.
In the list. But what about in your own review? That's the question.
Taza ati mangkipo nino siya.
But you didn't think it was important to keep any records of how you're reviewing these applications?
I have no comment on that.
Why not?
I have no comment on that.
You don't have an answer? You don't know? What does that mean that you have no comment?
I have no comment.
Witness, I will direct you to answer the question.
Did you think it was important to keep notes, any notes at all, during your reviews of these applications for public funds?
Izoko role gwini para be review the be render izoko no
But that's
no
not the question,
discussion.
sir.
Zan no lokwe no para by u collectively arrive at a consensus.
I understand
Yeah.
that you said that before, Mr. Taisigui. The question is, did you think it was important to keep notes?
I have no comment on that.
I will direct you to answer the question.
That's a yes or no question, sir.
At the time ni review it's you review i business plan. It's basically just reading it. Julie ko necessario na pa keep notes no put rason na izoko scope is just to review, to engage in a discussion, and to arrive at a consensus. No,
At the time I was reviewing business plans and reading it, I did not see the need to take notes.
So the answer is no.
Muna rason na ko na este business plan na is a proprietary no information. No, gwaha siya na business plan, gwaha siya na confidentiality statement na tidepi na po ma-share hujong. Pues gilo eno na statement na how you to keep notes. Kung necessaryo na pa be keep notes, to keep notes apod eno na rason a proprietary information gi business plan.
Are you going to translate that, Chair?
In business plans, there is proprietary information and it has a clause. Some of them have clauses that should not be divulged. The business plan should be not be divulged and should not be shared. And it is for that reason that I chose not to take notes.
Did anybody direct you not to take notes?
No.
No. Okay. So you mentioned earlier that there just wasn't enough time for everybody to review all the applications that the others were reviewing, right? So you didn't all review all the same applications, you and the other members of the panel. Is that correct?
Te mano ileko gwi na no kada no reviewer ne manually galo ni stack. Then we submit for discussion.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Then gino submit for discussion ne con todo recommendation.
So you reviewed some and recommended to the panel. Mr. Castro reviewed others and recommended to the panel.
Yes.
Mr. Atelig reviewed some and recommended to the
Yes,
panel.
yes.
But you didn't all look at the same applications.
Yeah, tinig in
Okay.
format.
Okay. And are you part of any chat groups? WhatsApp or any other chat group for the Boost program?
Yeah.
No?
Gwaha no tigo sabi juga no chat.
So how did you usually communicate?
Telephone.
Just telephone. What about email?
Gwaha lo ko email.
Okay.
No, masisi ju copy tagwe no.
Okay. Now you also have said several times that the Boost program is not a stimulus like the other programs, right? That give everybody money, right? But it was also competitive, right?
I feel like competitive.
Is this grant program competitive? Were the applicants competing for money?
I would, yeah, I'll say no, yeah.
Yes or no?
Ngan.
Yes. Okay. So because it was competitive, it was important to be fair, right? In the conduct of this program.
Ngan.
You would agree?
Mm.
Okay. And you said also that there's always room for improvement.
Ngan.
So let's go into that a little bit more. And these are just yes or no questions.
May I ask the witness to please speak into the microphone so you can be recorded properly? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, yes or no questions, Mr. Taisagui. Would it have improved the fairness of this program to have clear guidelines? Yes or no?
There's always room for improvement.
That's a yes or no question, sir. Would that have improved the fairness of this program?
There's always room for improvement.
Is that a yes?
There's always room for improvement.
May I please ask that the chairs direct the witness to answer the question? This is a yes or no question.
Witness, please answer with
Sige
a
na
yes or
chair
no.
na muna timotuzo mo gid na bukaw na sa pot rason na in
This is
good
the reason
faith.
why I didn't come with a lawyer.
No, in good faith. Jangin sige is by exercises of Fifth Amendment.
You are exercising your Fifth Amendment right?
Exactly. Usang understand that there's room for improvement. Sige, usang nizo na
I
answer
already told
yes
you
or
there
no.
was room for improvement. You keep telling me the same thing.
Would it have improved the fairness of this program, Mr. Taisagui, to have a rubric?
Unggan gwa ha rubric.
Yes, there is a rubric.
A rubric that everybody used. Would that have improved the fairness of this program?
Gwa ha rubric.
There is a rubric.
I understand that. But a rubric that everybody actually used. That is the question. Yes or no?
I would assume so na nigi po mausay na rubric imanagwa ha.
Would it have improved the fairness of this program to have a record of your evaluations?
There's always room for improvement.
Is that a yes or a no?
There's always a room for improvement.
Are you pleading the fifth again?
Unggan.
Okay. Would it have improved the fairness of this program to announce caps on the maximum awards that people could apply for?
There was room for improvement.
Is that a yes or no, sir?
There's
It's a
always
yes or
room
no
for
question,
improvement.
Mr. Taisagui. It's a yes or no question.
Unsang nganizo pago gisenintek ko anesta malofan. Pues there is always room for improvement.
Are you pleading the fifth
Unggan.
for that question?
Unggan.
For that question as well?
Are you
Unggan.
pleading the fifth, Mr. Taisagui?
Unggan sa
You're
Kusang-
pleading the fifth.
Thank
Is
you.
that correct?
unggan.
Mr. Taisui, if you're gonna plead the fifth, then please mention on the record that you're
Oh,
pleading
okay,
the fifth.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm.
Mr. Taisagui, would it have improved the fairness of this program to be clear with the public about the actual amount of money available?
There's always room for improvement.
And sir, are you pleading the fifth for that as well?
Dan ginto naksepta i-answer ko niya ako pues by
Yeah,
plead the
yeah.
Fifth Amendment.
Okay.
I agree. I'm sorry.
May I proceed?
Yes.
And would it have improved the fairness of this program, Mr. Taisagui, to establish limits on how many awards could be given to the same person?
There will always be room for improvement.
Mr. Taisagui, I'm having a hard time understanding with that response. It's a yes or no question. I would like to direct you to answer the question with a yes or no.
Akeke i-question ko ini office sinintek ko na.
She's not asking you,
Asang afafaisin jo
would it be
would
fair?
improve, would it be fair gisinintek ko na. Esta mo na dyan o deliver jo
It is already passed. I've already delivered
ko no review.
my review.
Pues bago parang fafaisin jo
And
office
then
sinintek ko na.
now you're asking me what I am feeling.
Inipik ko na gidago na.
My answer to you is
There's always room for improvement.
there is always room for
Mr.
improvement.
Taisagui,
Mm.
you have yourself said that the review process is not yet done, right? And when you also say that there's room for improvement, the purpose of these questions is to understand what you mean by that. So let's be very clear about that. My next
Muna-
question, sir. Would it have improved the fairness of this program
There will always be room for improvement.
to be clear about the actual amount of money available? And
There
to
will always be
establish
room-
limits on how
There will
many?
always be room for improvement.
Mr. Taisagui, are you pleading the fifth? If you are, you need to state for the record that I plead the fifth.
Okay,
You need to invoke your rights under the fifth.
Jangin accepta izoku no answer ne.
If she
Dapat
doesn't
tasiga
accept
no
my answer,
no
and we will keep on.
Then you have to
Pues-
say so for the record, Mr. Taisagui. If you are
so
pleading the fifth.
by plead izoku Fifth Amendment.
Okay, so I plead the fifth.
So I will go on to the next question then.
First, Reptina,
Mhm.
thank you for that profound statement. I plead the fifth,
Mm.
which is what you stated right now. Is that correct? You're
That I
pleading
plead
the
the
fifth.
Fifth Amendment.
Because the only adverse conclusion one can derive from that is that if your answer was not incriminating, you would have no legal basis and no need to plead the fifth. You may continue, Reptina.
Thank you. Mr. Taisagui, would it have improved the fairness of this program to adhere to a deadline rather than extending multiple times?
Get on a question. But you agree na no law.
question I will agree to.
Umisyona ano.
I mentioned that
Jamas imasanganek ko na
based on what they told me.
guaha siya timang complete siya na aplikasyon.
There are incomplete applications.
So you agreed with extending the deadline?
It's
All three.
reasonable.
All 3 times you agreed?
Segundo na para extendi
The second time they were going to extend,
raise up tali question.
I again raised the question,
Ko guaha ko po na hong salapi sa siga ni Manolo.
would there be
No.
enough money?
I-respond ni masangoni jo na para guaha no infusion talo na
The
salapi.
response I got was that there would be an
Pues,
infusion of
reasonable
money.
ano talo.
So that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Because the answer to you was yes, that there would be more money.
Ungan.
Mr. Castro told you that?
Ungan.
And what about Secretary of Finance?
I see Mr. Castro.
Just Mr. Castro?
Mm.
Okay. And would it have improved the fairness of this program to wait for all the completed applications to come in by the deadline that was set by the review panel?
Tay ano aliko na ti stimulus program este.
Just as I said, this is not a stimulus program.
Pues i-process kumintunua umano muna.
Process continued forward, moved forward.
I-review panel a continua tumogit sa niya.
The review panel
No.
continued to do their work
Until i-funds no ti available esta.
Mhm.
Sa
Funds
nigi
are no
ma
longer available.
publika gibus webpage na i-application is subject to funds availability.
That is what is published
No.
on the Boost website.
Lokwe mapublika na i-program sinya ma-terminate without advance notice. No? Jagilo eno na posiga mona janging gwagwa pupulo. Gwagwa funds.
Would it have improved the fairness of this program to have actually reviewed and evaluated all of the completed applications by the deadline to identify the very best applications, the most unique business proposals from that pool, and how much money to award them at that point? Would that have improved the fairness of this program?
There would always room for improvement.
Is that a yes? Or is
There
that
would
a plead
always
the
be
fifth?
room for improvement na to improve, so there will always be room for improvement.
And for that question, are you also asserting your Fifth Amendment rights,
Tangin
Mr.
ti
Taisagui?
makomprended gi joko answered, pues
I don't
bayo-
understand your
best
answer.
by plead the Fifth Amendment.
If we can't come to an understanding as to his answer, then he will plead the fifth.
And then just to clarify a couple of other things that you said about your role, Mr. Taisagui, you only review the small business applications, not the farmer, fisher, rancher applications, correct?
Ginanchino.
And what about the nonprofits?
Non-profit ungan.
You did. So
Yes.
nonprofits and small businesses together. What about the workforce development program?
Aye,
No. Was that a different review panel?
not to my knowledge.
Was there a review panel?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. And are you still reviewing applications at this time?
Tao tabia maagan no session para review.
There hasn't been a review session called yet.
When was the last time you met to have a session with the review panel?
I don't recall.
Was it like last month or this month? It's sometime in December.
I'll be guessing. So I don't recall.
Do you have a calendar that you can refer to?
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification.
State your point.
Mr. John Arroyo mentioned that you guys had a review panel meeting 2 weeks ago, which was on a Tuesday. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. It's just much in a reminder. Yeah.
Were you there for that review session, Mr.
Ungan,
Taisagui?
ungan.
So you recall 2 weeks
Yes.
ago,
Ungan.
right? Because the latest round of boost applications came also about 2 weeks ago.
Ungan. Paguna.
Boost
It's just much
awards,
in a
I should say.
reminder. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the most recent one,
Ungan.
and there has been nothing since.
Not that I recall.
Thank you. I yield for this round, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Rep. Saban. I recognize Rep. Magofia.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome back again, Mr. Taisagui.
This is much.
Can we go back to the subject of taking notes? So as the Director of Economic Development at Commerce, do you oversee any programs, be it grants or loans, that's funded by federal monies?
Recently no dos na programa. Ma award i Department of Commerce.
What are those?
Kuja just no recently is LFPA.
Okay.
Then lokwi i TAP program.
Okay, so when you say recent, how recent?
That's about a month ago.
About a month ago.
A month.
Are you able
2
to
months ago.
disclose what those what those amounts are for those programs? What's allotted for those programs?
I think no public records at Nongan.
Are you able to tell us since?
EG LFPA is basically 200,000. Pagwidzi i TAP program 45,000.
Okay, so these are small programs.
Yeah.
Okay. Are these grants or loans?
These are grants.
Grants. So are they similar in nature to the Boost program?
Oh, yeah.
What is the difference?
The difference no different is no clienteles. No different is no process.
Are you able to tell us what type of clientele?
LFPA basically are farmers. Clienteles are farmers. Pogo is the TAP program. No to provide no climate change literacy. No para i-empleo gobyerno siya.
Okay.
Can you expound on the acronyms, LFPA and the other one, for the record?
I-TAP sa Technical Assistance Program. Pagwidzi LFPA, Local Food Purchase Assistance.
Would you agree that most programs that are funded under federal monies, especially grants, right, have to adhere to strict regulations, compliance, and requirements, most especially with regards to documentation?
Unggan guaha guinisha no justicia na program no documentation requirements man mas spell out. No terms and condition man mas spell out. Yes.
But would you agree that it's important to have records and documentation of actions that are being taken for each application of these
Whether
programs?
I agree or not, no, inigi must stipulate the terms and
Okay,
condition
so
of
it's
the
a
grant.
requirement.
Yes.
Okay. Now, and these are funded federally. So the Boost program, as we understand it, is also funded by ARPA, which is also federal monies.
As I understand.
Correct. Okay. So when you were invited or notified that you would be a member of the panel, did you feel that because the criteria are not very specific or clear, right? Not the way I understand is that each panel member was using his discretion as to how these applications were being reviewed and determined for eligibility and the amounts that they were being awarded, correct?
Again,
Like so each panel member was using his discretion, your discretion.
kasi natapeg no.
So did you not, knowing that the Boost program is funded by federal monies, did you not think it was important to follow similar regulations as far as documenting the actions that you are taking and the decisions that you are making for the applications that you are recommending?
Kasi janggit ma-presenta gizago na sticky terms and condition na. Temano i LFPA and the TAP program. They presented that to commerce that this is basically what you're required to do. Gi boost gi review panel thoughts ano na terms and condition man ma-presenta guato gizago.
Hunggan eh, ta comprende na
Mm.
taza, right?
Mm.
Lo hagu lo kui kumu administrator and grant program
Mm.
similar to that in
Mm.
nature, where it's funded by federal monies. Wouldn't you personally, just by your standards and your ethics, bring it to the attention of other panel members and the committee and even the governor as the expenditure authority that, hey, we are dealing with federal monies. I strongly believe that we should have clear and concise guidelines as to how we are reviewing and making decisions on these applications. It never crossed your mind to
Oh, yeah.
to recommend or
Not
to
at the
bring the
time.
concern to the rest of the panel members or the team above you guys?
No, not at that time.
Okay.
But there will be room for improvement, Paco.
Okay. Okay. We're okay. So I'm done with the taking notes. Do you recall at any given time if the panel ever met outside of Bank of Saipan to review the list?
Not to my knowledge.
And so you are saying that every time the panel would meet, you would meet in the conference room,
Ngad gi Bank of Saipan.
the Bank of Saipan.
Ngad.
Ti gyalumedzi kwatto ni ma pega i box ni man pega todo alum i application? Taja ni man meeting amzu gyalumedzi kwatto ni gaigi i box. Todi tempo man ni meeting amzu gi alum conference room?
Mostly gi the conference room lo gi joko recollection fanan guaha no several times gal ni jadi kiki na kwattu.
Okay, so you are rescinding your statement from earlier when you said you guys were always meeting in the conference room. So now you are recollecting that there are
Okay.
times when you guys would meet in the.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that. Let's get back to the technical support. So you stated earlier that on the trip that you took to Rhoda, you were wearing your hat as the director of economic development for commerce,
Commerce.
correct?
Okay.
Okay, and your role there was to provide technical support,
Okay.
as in assisting with the write-up of their business plans, correct?
Okay.
Okay, so and it kind of goes back to the question earlier from, I believe, Rep Tina,
Mm.
in asking whether or not you did not see any conflict. And the reason why I bring that up is because it appears that the people that you were helping, which is a good thing, it's not a bad thing, but the appearance, right, that because you are a member of the panel reviewing their applications, by you providing technical assistance, they have an advantage in their business plan as to what you are looking for as a review panel member.
No, I'm not actually, not necessarily, no congresswoman, no, technical assistance no provide guatu is idunia ideas, no. Dan tayo ni para formulate halun gi business format.
Hunggan Lo, you as a panel member, you are looking at certain elements, right? And you testified earlier that part of the technical assistance that you were providing were in those areas, those elements, the financial planning, the marketing,
Okay.
the products and services, right? So essentially you are giving them an advantage in their business plan because you know what you're looking for when you're reviewing the business plan. So by providing them that technical assistance, are you not giving them an advantage over the other regular people who are preparing their business plan and submitting it for review?
Not necessarily.
How do you not see that?
Sa business plan is basically dunia idea.
I-
Tawza na technical assistance on siya is basically tayo ni po mapega papa.
Kung gani, ta comprende no? Lo ipumalu ni timatungu
Tawza na
no?
pumalo.
I don't know. I didn't have the I don't have the privy to review those applications. I'm pretty sure that not all of the applicants came to either Commerce or yourself to get technical assistance in preparing their business plan. So I'm saying for those who did not avail of that assistance, it is a disadvantage to them because the format, the layout, the kind of information that they put in there is probably subpar to what you are providing in your technical assistance to those people. So
Technical assistance na to sa ngangan siya po pamapega papa. Gikada no aplikante na manintrisaw manahalom. Tawza na technical assistant pareho ni Mango alpha birada niya pareho ni SPDC pareho ni Commerce birada niya. Basically guaha esta no format template na. No.
exactly. So they were working with a template while others were working from scratch, or they're probably Googling it up, or, just trying to even figure it out how to put a business plan together. So this is what I'm trying to point out is that the people that got assistance, technical assistance from Commerce had an advantage over people who were just simply trying to put together a business plan, ones that probably have never done before, but they were doing their very best to put together a business plan to submit for review. So do you
No, I don't think so sa janginanatan conflict kita gweno na. I don't see any conflict gweno. Sa with all in good faith na patajuda tau ta.
yes.
No. Janggim pa bay chogwe na no na. Pes malignya na no tibay gaigi geno na posisyon sa tisinya bay juda na. Lo i obligasyon no como gaigi jo ki commerce i para be ajuda siya. Pues fafay sinjo ko gi sininte ko uli ko mo conflict na. I-answer ko gano hayi.
Okay, so let me rephrase then my question. Since you don't consider it conflict, do you feel it was ethical?
In my point of view, it's not.
So because you help provide technical assistance to these people, did you recuse yourself from reviewing those applications?
Ijuazu no recuse no zanging guaha izoku financial interests. Jan lokwe gua izoku business associates.
So that would
Jan
be
lokwe by recuso zanging guaha application na masadmiti halu ginin izoku immediate family.
okay. So that would be the only time you would
That
recuse.
would be the only time.
Have you ever received an application directly to yourself?
Unggang guaha siya no afaizinanya no ginin lutan.
Manayo directly, like
Ay te manoizo directly lo manoizo ko afaizinanya no ko maulika izunia format but maulika todo tagano siya.
So they gave you the application to review it before they submitted, to give feedback whether or not it's complete or
Enggak.
okay. 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 Was there a running balance being kept for the boost program? So initially there was 10 million. What was there anyone from any of the committee keeping track and running a balance on what was already being obligated and awarded?
Definitely not me. Lo, I would.
Are you
I would.
aware?
I would rely that no, I program administrator at Otsogueno.
So the program, in your opinion, the program administrator is the responsible entity to monitor and keep track.
Jan lokwe, I would rely na Matsotsogueno ni Department of Finance. Yeah.
Were you guys ever provided a running balance report as panel members?
Ay,
So
gi parago tawza ni ma provide din.
so didn't you guys think it was important that you have an idea of where you stand, where we stand as far as what's remaining on the program to determine whether or not to keep going with the review of applications?
Or rely on the information the Department of Finance and program administrator.
Okay, so you guys just weren't curious to know how much money is left? I mean, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're going to put in so much time, there's thousands of applications, right? And there's only 3 of you. There's limited time, right? You're going to put in all this time and energy to review these packets, only to find out down the line that there's no money. So it never crossed your mind to ask, where are we?
The manage leko urilizo nenon information the Department of Finance jan lokwi I program administrator posa sa jangin tades ta salapyan ay pues tenikit tu fan manogan no.
I know, but you guys didn't know, right? For all you know, all these applications in the boxes is just for review. You don't even know where you guys stand financially.
Di Paraguay na sinya tutungo lo uno na review panel is basically the Secretary of Finance. Pues kumalo mo na tenikya kasi matino na tempo na iligna tipo mawagan esta i-review sa tawag sa no funds run out, no? Pues tenikya tipo mawagan ni para review session.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't catch it, but did the Secretary of Finance ever sat down with you guys or met with you guys to review applications together as panel members?
Enggak na
Okay. Okay. Okay, that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. McLaughlin. Yeah. We'll take a 15-minute break and
Sure.
we'll be back at.
Just, before the 15-minute break, just a point of clarification to a previous question that Rep. Tina Sablan had brought up. Mr. Taisagwe, I know that Rep. Camacho had reminded you of the date, and no, in that meeting, who was present in that meeting? There's only 3 panelists now.
Si Castro Gujangwao.
Hamza Nados,
Ay gaya lo que Secretary of Commerce.
Secretary of Commerce. So the Secretary of Commerce sat in on the review.
Ay tiya sa din in the review. Lo que no na oni na gua ha ma idos ma diskuti lo ki pot no ibus program.
Separate from
Separate from me review panel.
the where was the Secretary of Finance at that time? Because if it was December, that would be the prime time to understand the actual financial program. Because so we 2 weeks prior to that, he came out in the paper talking about requesting an additional $20 million for the boost program.
Ti tungu man ni gay no dispensa.
The team makta pa meeting.
Ay te matto fa nang
Te
meeting.
matto.
Yeah.
So at that point, at least at that point, did you guys know already how much was dispersed in boost monies? Because the last disbursement was that Friday, no, and it would have exhausted almost the full $17 million.
Not to my knowledge, but go as a review panel.
So nobody brought up the financials at that
No.
period. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Speaker. At this time, we will return at 3:25. We now rise back from recess, and prior to going to recess, Vice Speaker had something he wanted to clarify. And so now I recognize Rep. Staffler.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Taisagui. I wanted to ask a few more questions about SSBI again.
Okay.
With respect to SSBI, would it
SSBCI.
SSBCI, thank you for clarification. Would it be against SSBCI practice for you to be involved in a person's application submission?
Ay isa procedure gano gi SSBCI no masanmiti application watu gi participating siya na bangko.
Okay. When it comes to applicants that you helped, how many of them received boosts? Applicants that you provided assistance, technical assistance for?
I don't recall the numbers.
Would you say that every person that you assisted received their boost, or not every person that you assisted?
Not everyone, I believe.
How many applicants, or let me rephrase. It appears that the review panel yourself was not aware of the Boost FFR and workforce plans. You were not aware that there was the Fisher Farmers and Ranchers plan or the workforce plan. Is that true?
Danginileg mo aware sa participate do padoy lo unggan aware do sa ma widely no publicize it.
Okay, so you had heard about it.
Yes,
And as a person who's on the review panel, did you know who was on that review panel?
I have no knowledge
How come that you didn't know who's on that review panel?
because I am not involved in that program.
When it comes to the Boost FFR and workforce plans, who was on that panel? If it was well known, how come we don't know who's that review panel?
Kaya lele ko well known ma-publicize si program. Lo ti ma-publicize o di manggay gipano.
So it wasn't publicized, and even you, as a person who was on the inside, you did not know?
Often ko may kilig mo insight.
Like you were on the inside of the program, you were a review panelist, which is part of the Boost internal processing.
I don't know ko internal ano lo review panel para small business.
Okay. You mentioned that part of the reason why you gave a second round was to help businesses meet their business plan. Is that correct?
To my opinion unggan.
So I'm curious, what about those businesses who are given $5,000? There were 9 applicants who received $5,000, and not one of them got a second round. But the lowest amount that was requested from the $5,000 awardees was only $20,000. Why wasn't their business plan considered for a second round when they only got $5,000 the first time?
I have no comment on that.
Don't you think it's kind of interesting that those 9 businesses got only $5,000 compared to the 100,000s that some businesses got?
Sina kasi ti ma-surf ti sumurface anay man aliam.
I don't know what's man alyam.
It didn't surface when we met.
Aliham. Okay, thank you. I guess it just really makes me wonder, because those people who put in their effort for their $5,000 or for their Boost Award, some of their plans had $90,000 request, but they only got $5,000. So how does a business, how do you justify as a review panelist to give a business only $5,000 versus a business $100,000?
Sina kasi depende ginagaw niya. Jan lokwi depende afa na business.
And again, you're making these decisions without a rubric or without a criteria documented.
Treason mommy no collective conversation.
So every collective conversation, but there's still nothing in writing.
Ungan.
Was there even something written on the application, like 100,000, or just anything on the actual application, like, you know, check mark that we did this one, or anything like that? How do you know when an
I don't
application?
recall.
How would you know when an application is like already done, reviewed, if there's no documented?
Ungan gua documentation.
What is that type of documentation?
Iji matrix ni manahono ulo para i governor advance ulo pa governor.
So just the list, that's the only documentation.
Ungan.
But there's nothing written on the application itself. Nothing, not a check mark, not a number.
Oh yeah, thoughts.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Rev. Saffler. Any other member? I recognize Vice Chair.
I just have a clarifying question. So, Rep. Layla asked if the applicants you assisted were granted boost monies, and you said some, not all, correct?
Is there a question ko ijo assisted ko no man grant todo pa no palo
Okay.
inipek ko gi no palo ti todo.
Okay. Ani like mo titodo afa kumikelek mo na titodo man rin grants sa tarabete man review izo na application.
Sinya.
So what you mean by that is that they haven't received it not because they were disapproved, but because their applications have not been reviewed yet.
Ungan.
Okay, just clarifying. Thank you.
All right, floor is still open, and I recognize Rep. Sablon.
Mr. Taisagui, the review panel awarded hundreds of thousands of dollars to a few restaurants and nothing to the many other restaurants that applied. Did the panel review all the restaurant applications?
Kasi tabia ti todo.
Maybe not yet, not all.
Maybe not all. The panel also awarded at least 50,000 to one diving business and nothing to the other dive businesses that applied. Did the panel review all the dive businesses that applied?
Kasi tabia.
Maybe not yet.
When you say maybe not yet, do you mean no? You did not
Kumikel
review?
ko na ti ma-review tabia.
What I mean is it hasn't been reviewed.
The panel also awarded 200,000 to one auto shop and zero to at least 15 other auto shops that applied. Did the panel review all of the auto shop applications?
Trabia.
The panel also awarded hundreds of thousands of dollars to very few nonprofit organizations. Some of them were brand new. And nothing at all to many other legitimate, established, and struggling nonprofits. Did the panel review all of the nonprofit applications?
Ti todo trabia.
Okay. The panel also awarded $200,000 to one car wash and zero to the others that did apply. Did the panel review all of the car wash applications?
Ti todo trabia.
What makes a car wash on Saipan unique, Mr. Taisagui?
Depende mo no guato ni gaigeno na car wash.
Depends on where that car wash is located.
Could you explain that a little more? What do you mean by that?
Money is on a location eh. Sa jangin tawag with car wash pues kumikilig niya na unique ano na car wash.
It depends on the location of the car wash. If there is no car wash in that location, then that means that car wash is unique.
And is that all? The location? Is that all that makes it unique?
Ipara kinemprende kuni afung fafaisin zo ungan.
Based on what you're asking me, yes.
Aren't there many, many car washes on Saipan?
Go se su fogase kareto. Zagi zaguao ni. Gana be go tsogu. Pues todo tempo ucecek monu ni ji iut para guao.
Mm.
Um, in my personal opinion, I often wash my car and I often look for car washes that are close to my vicinity
Mhm.
or close to me.
Are you familiar with the Dash car wash, Mr. Taisagui?
Ungan inaan.
Yes, the name is familiar.
Were you part of the review panel that reviewed the grant application from Dash Car Wash?
Ungan.
And when did you review that application?
Cannot recall.
Was it within the last 2 weeks?
I'll be guessing, so I cannot recall.
Well, let me refresh your memory. They just got awarded $200,000 by the according to the Bank of Saipan's records, about 2 weeks ago on December 12th. Do you recall that?
Kasi gwijano ji i mapus na ni manalian pa ben review.
I think that was what we previously reviewed.
Okay, so the most recent review panel meeting
Ungan.
was when that was reviewed. And you said that at that meeting, it was yourself and Mr. Castro and the Secretary of Commerce, correct?
Ay amia dan si Mr. Castro man review.
So you and Mr. Castro both recommended $200,000 for Dash Car Wash?
Ungan.
And do you know who owns Dash Car Wash?
Dan gin man review jo i kompanya mas u for focus ti aji no i principle.
When I review, I focus on the principle of the company.
And who is that?
Ay by correct call. Sa gonna review for focus o mas gi merit i business plan that the principle i kompanya.
Thank you, but you did not mention business plan. You mentioned, but I, now
Dan
that
gin
you've
nilek ko
testified-
review na I will review business plan.
Mhm. And for that car wash, was the location especially unique?
I cannot recall. Please no remind me.
I have not seen the application, but they got $200,000, so it must have been unique.
I cannot recall.
Was there anything else about that application that made it unique to warrant $200,000?
Kasi dunya services.
maybe it was their services.
Maybe it was their services. This is a brand new car wash, right? It's a startup. Is that correct?
I don't recall.
You don't recall.
Yeah.
This was just a couple of weeks ago. They got a big grant. You don't recall that?
No, I don't recall.
You don't recall the location, you don't recall the nature of the services, but you do recall recommending $200,000 for Dash Car Wash.
Inaan familiar. co-recommended 200,000. That would be the collective no recommendation.
The collective recommendation of yourself and Mr. Castro.
Yes.
And who actually submitted this application to the review panel?
I would assume na Bank of Guam submitted no to Gipano.
Bank of Guam? You mean Bank of
Point of
Saipan?
clarification, yes.
Bank of Saipan.
You would assume that the Bank of Saipan submitted this application?
Unggan sa nigi niya no role as a program administrator.
Oh, so they would have submitted this on a list.
Unggan.
You assume that.
Ay utungwa na nigi niya role Bank of Saipan.
Okay, now according to Bank of Saipan's own records, Dash Car Wash submitted their application on November 18. So the very last deadline in the boost program, and got awarded and received their money less than a month later. How did Dash Car Wash rise to the top of all the thousands of applications that you had to review in those stacks?
Te mano
Mr.
afo
Tyson?
songan na no toja no tima range siya gi any chronological order na manggaiga galum i boxes. Pues te mano songan na pipika pa ginin ni batch.
Just as I earlier said, it wasn't arranged in any chronological order. We just pick it up from the boxes.
But of all the applications on the list, Mr. Taisagui, how did Dash Car Wash rise to the top to get awarded $200,000?
Te mano e finone na toja chronological order. Mapika pa ginin ni boxes zezgi na ma-review.
Just as I stated, it was not arranged in any chronological order,
Mhm.
and that's how we pick it up from the box and we review it.
So you just randomly picked up this application to review out of the box.
Parewa dyan todo i aplikante.
Just like all other applicants.
Did the Secretary of Finance have anything to do with the review of this grant application?
Do you recall ko gaigi Secretary of Finance gizin na anima review an application?
I don't recall if the Secretary of Finance was there when I was reviewing that application.
Did the Secretary of Finance submit this application himself to the review panel to review?
Gi procedure tita gweno poro ipano po submit guatu gi review panel. Gi procedure po masubmit guatu gi Bank of Saipan.
That's not the procedure. The panel doesn't submit to the panel. The panel submits to the Bank of Saipan.
Ay ti panel submit guatu gi Bank of Saipan lo debi no masubmit ipakete guatu gi Bank of Saipan. Antes no hanulo guatu gi review panel.
The panel doesn't submit to applications to Bank of Saipan. The Bank of Saipan receives the application and then submits it to the panel.
Mhm. So the procedure is that the applicant should be the one to submit to the Bank of Saipan.
Unggan.
That's right. Did the Secretary of Finance declare a conflict of interest for Dash Car Wash?
Kizoku recollection no from time to time Secretary of Finance a recuse quit.
It is my recollection that the Secretary of Finance will recuse himself from time to time.
And for which applications did the Secretary of Finance recuse himself?
I don't recall.
Is that documented anywhere in writing, sir?
Verbally,
Verbally, but you don't remember.
correct. I don't recall.
And you also don't recall if he did so for Dash Car Wash.
Engan.
Who is Cameron Atalik, sir?
Aji?
Cameron Atalik.
Eko tutungo aja no.
He's listed in the Bank of Saipan's records as the recipient of an award for Dash Car Wash.
To recall eno
I'm sorry?
To recall eno naan.
I don't
Kay
recall
Manuel
that name.
Lekuna izoku focus is basically gi merit of the business plan
Mhm.
that to focus to RG i principle.
So it's just a coincidence that Mr. Cameron Atelig, who is believed to be the son of former Finance Secretary David Atelig, received a $200,000 grant for a car wash?
Tutungo aja no natauto ko lainnya pada RG.
I don't know that person. I don't know if that's his son.
Mr. Castro didn't advise you either?
Ay,
And what about applications for the Trove? Did you review that?
inaan familiar ngan kasi.
The name is familiar. Probably yes.
And what about Corey's Garden?
Kasi ngan.
And what about Saipan Surf Company?
Ngan familiar na.
And did you know for any of those applications that they were actually submitted to the review panel by the Secretary of Finance himself?
Tiene procedure.
That is not the procedure.
But that's not the question. The question is, did you know that the Secretary of Finance submitted these applications himself?
I have no knowledge.
He never told you?
No.
He never declared a conflict?
Ngan. I declare conflict on from time to time from companies.
But for those companies, do you know?
I cannot recall whether that company or other companies.
And there's no record, correct?
Pura verbal.
All of it was verbal.
Did you know that he had family relationships with all of those businesses?
Not to my knowledge.
It was never discussed.
No, it was never discussed.
When he recused himself from time to time, did he say why?
Not to my recollection.
Sir Tastigui, what good is a verbal recusal if you can't remember, nobody can remember, and there's no documentation?
Who at the time available no siya na the procedure.
At the time, those procedures were not available.
What do you mean by that?
No fafasinzo what good no easy in the absence of documentation.
You're asking me what good is it, the absence of documentation?
So you're saying if there's no procedure to require documentation, then
That's a requirement. But to get attention, no como review panel.
There's no requirement that came to my attention as a review panel member.
and you never thought that perhaps some kind of documentation should be required,
There's always room for improvement.
of course. I yield at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Saban. Any other member? I recognize Rep. Joel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly, Mr. Taisquit. So you're telling me that when the review panel meets, there's no like assistant or anyone recording, no meeting minutes, nothing.
Taza.
So you're saying that you're dealing with millions of dollars and there's no sense of accountability.
Tisina ba along na no sense of accountability no
How
congressman.
is that when there's no log, there's no minutes, there's no assistant secretary or anybody recording these downs, and you guys are dealing with millions of dollars? Because to me, it seems like you just pull up applications from the box. You look at it and say, "I, the nice 50,000," and then you realize they requested for 400, 100. It's like it almost seems kind of arbitrary. If you ask me from the outside standpoint, there's so much impropriety in the way this was handled. So you're saying that no recording, nothing.
To my recollection, Taza.
How does that make you feel as a government employee of commerce? How does that make you feel? Because I'm pretty sure under the program that you handle, what is that, SPDC?
Ay, the SPDC.
What program do you handle in commerce?
SSBCI.
So you're the director for that program,
Hanggang.
and I'm pretty sure
Not
you guys,
the directors of Parena program, but this program is basically under e-commerce.
so there are protocols, right? There are standard protocols that you must follow internally, like what Rep Tina Sablan was alluding to. She's There are protocols, right, that you guys have to adhere to.
Terms and condition may spell out na yan na program. Then by the way, tabiat mo na dyan is still in the program, still in the works.
This boost program.
Ay boost program is SSBCI.
Okay, so there that you then you do admit that there are protocols that you must follow,
Yeah, from U.S. Treasury.
and that same types of protocols you're not applying to this boost program, which you're dealing with ARPA money, which is federal money, and there's no sense of protocol.
I think
SOP.
I think a protocol when no say palabra protocol no, it's not a protocol, it is a terms and condition from a grantor, the US Treasury.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Then when you guys meet, you pull out a bunch of applications from the box and here's your pile, here's your pile.
Ay kada uno at na process. Di
Yeah.
manapatiam.
Okay, so
Mm.
whatever. The other person grabs their stack, you grab your stack, and then you decide, oh, okay, let me give this company. Oh, this company's not complete there.
Gua siya gizago na gua siya elements no kakaido como commerce no, and that would then be my submission for discussion.
How long does it take you guys to discuss one applicant? Your judgment when you do your reviews, how long does it take you to review one application?
About 10 to 15 minutes.
So each applicant gets about 10 to 15 minutes of a panelist's time. That's about all you give each applicant?
Well, that's inigi i duration ni angin pa ba review no business plan.
So that's primarily what you're looking at is the business plan.
Yeah, that's all.
And then to also see whether or not they're complete in their documentation, right? Because Mr. Arroyo had informed us that there is no actual application at Banco Saipan. It's
Taza application.
Yeah, you would have to apply either to the Boost website, or someone actually gets an application from somebody else. I don't know how that works.
Okay, temano ileko gi tinitur na taza pon sogi jangin entry sawo pon kataja halu pi Bank of Saipan. Pero o submiti halum loki izomo business plan, izomo company profile, izomo business license, your true certificate of existence, jan loki no izomo tax clearance. Inigi complete i pakete. Jasina must consider no como application Lo taza ezi application form ni para un fill out na halum.
Yeah, you see, that's also kind of odd if you think about it, because grants are, yeah, they're a little different from a loan, but technically you're asking to be lended some money to help as a starter capital or to help expand your company,
Yeah.
and you don't have those SOPs in place. It's just really mind-boggling how you guys didn't find that's kind of disturbing. You know that
Mm.
you can imagine what the public feels about this program.
Well, Taimano Ijilekunay, the making of Enosia is beyond my scope. Ano yung maulumo na ma-designate so kumuguaho i-representantin i-Secretary of Commerce gida review panel. Idzo available para guaho ipabe-review i-business plan by submit for no discussion and to come into a consensus. And no available ani ma-designate.
My last question, Mr. Chairman. The same question I've asked the
Mm.
Secretary of Commerce, Mr. De Guerrero. Were you a part of the planning stage of the boost program in the beginning, the onset? Or was that Mr. De Guerrero, Secretary of Commerce?
Si Secretary of Commerce.
So you were not involved in the planning stage.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my question to you is, were you not, are you aware that like if there's any enforcement protocols for all these recipients that had received boost awards? Who monitors them and tracks them, whether or not they're actually using the award for the purpose of their business? Who does that?
Gipabe opiano na tigof siguro zo logi jok understanding na i program administrator
Which is Bank of Saipan.
Bank of Saipan.
So who monitors Bank of Saipan, since they are a recipient and have received $500,000, if I'm not mistaken?
Not tishiniwa opiano haji.
So you're not aware of who would be monitoring them on the use of their funds, boost money.
No, kaya weird so.
So how would that make you feel if the Inspector General had made a finding or come to a conclusion that the CNMI would have to return this money because of the lack of transparency, accountability? Who do you think should fork that out? The CNMI taxpayers or the recipients that were awarded?
Tisinya be opiano na hypothetical no question no Congressman Dispensa.
That would be a travesty, Mr. Taisagui, if the CNMI had to fork that out. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Rep. Joel. I recognize Rep. Staffler.
Thank you. I just will have one question. Have you ever heard of the term that if it was not documented, that it never happened?
Ay,
You've never heard of that term?
ginin hogwa.
I'm the first person that you've heard.
Ngan.
Well, I've heard that a lot of times, and I can just say, if it wasn't documented, it never happened. And there was a lot of non-documentation that happened. It's just a travesty. Thank you.
Recognize Vice Chair McGough. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Taisagui, last Friday, the Secretary of Commerce testified that you asked him some questions about topic of local agent.
Ngan.
Do you recall that
Okay.
conversation with him? Okay. Just so we hear your version of the story, could you please provide the committee with some context and the reason for your inquiry?
Some context.
Context, right? Like
O
context.
context. Yeah. Temano ay dimensiona na gi earlier na anay ma-designa zo como para ba representa i Secretary of Commerce gi review panel. Kulan didi no wasun maisa zo na no. So tungo ha na mampus zo aktibo gi private sector. Utungo ha lokwe na gwai joko financial interest. Dan lokwe gwai joko business associates, no. Lo tigof siguro zo na pod I registered local agent o na gisti ko business associates ko podung no galo may definition no conflict of interest. Okay. Pues ane matweno na dinida gizago iji na u toma podiset y Secretary of Commerce is on opinion niya pod ko sa guiza o representa guiza magasulok sigun gi izon niya abiso gi zagwao na malig niya na by recusal dan ginusenti na conflict of interest pod masya offer na rason pues malig niya by recusal masaya I local registered agent tawad sa interest niya gi kompanya lo po di guaha izoku financial interest dan izoku business associates inigi mas na rason na u recusal hopefully wapyan
Si Zeus Masi. So it is your testimony that with the businesses who applied for the boost program, that you were either a business associate or a registered agent,
Ngan.
you recused yourself.
Ngan.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I recognize Rep. Probst.
Thank you. I have about 79 questions lined up, so I'll go slow. Mr. Taisagui, there's a lot I want to ask you, but I do want to do some follow-up. So earlier, Rep. Tina Sablan asked about this car wash, and you had talked about, she was asking what is unique about it. One of the things you said was the location is unique. So just for clarification and for an understanding, how many car washes do you think we have on Saipan?
I do not have the stats lo tunga na several.
Okay, well, what? Just take a guess. If you were to take a wild guess, how many would you say?
I think it's na importante na hearing para tages no tigof
Okay.
maulik.
Well, let me guess. I'm not 100% sure, but there's probably more than a dozen on an island that is at its best 15 miles long by 3 miles wide. Can you think of a village that does not have a car wash right now on Saipan? That's a
Thoughts?
question. What village on Saipan does not have a car wash?
Hakman, tao sa hakman.
Okay, so there's none in Kagman. Is everybody sure of that? Okay. So this car wash, in order for it to be unique, to get $200,000 to be a car wash, should be located in Kagman. Do you know if this car wash is going to be located in Kagman?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so we don't know.
Hmm.
But we do know that there's a car wash just about everywhere else. So if you live in Kagman and there's no car wash, if you take any other side, any other road, within a few miles you end up seeing a car wash. Is that not correct, sir?
Tao sa Cobreville.
None in Cobreville? Well, don't worry. When you're on the way from there, right across Joten Dandan is a car wash. And I can assure you, about every road you take after that is another car wash. Throughout Middle Road, Beach Road, Bula na car wash.
Tao sa dandan loki.
Taza Dandan, Ungan, across from
Isamilo.
Joten Dandan. Joten Dandan is in Dandan, is it not? Dandan Dandan. Anyway, we continue. So there are plenty of car washes $200,000 for a car wash seems pretty extravagant to me. Moving on. Mr. Tyson, have you ever heard of One Mariana's Initiative?
Unggan so review no.
Okay. So, One Mariana's Initiative, who was the one that pulled the file on One Mariana's Initiative? Who was the one that pulled it and did the initial review of One Mariana's Initiative? Was it you, Mr. Atalig, or Mr. Castro?
Dispensa, I don't recall.
You don't recall. Did any of the three of you recuse yourself from One Mariana's Initiative?
I don't recuse myself.
You didn't recuse yourself. Did Mr. Castro recuse himself?
I don't recall.
You don't recall. Do you have any notes on whether he recused himself or not?
Thoughts that?
Do you remember or recall how much was awarded to One Mariana's Initiative before? Actually, I'm sorry. Let me backtrack. What is One Mariana's Initiative?
Just no recall.
You don't recall? Okay. What if I were to give you some hints? It's a non-profit organization. What if I were to tell you that Mr. Castro, Will Castro, was listed at one point as a consultant for One Mariana's Initiative? If he was a consultant, do you feel he should recuse himself?
I have no knowledge on that.
If he was a founder of One Mariana's Initiative, should he recuse himself?
I think that's the right thing to do.
What if I were to tell you that this One Mariana's Initiative nonprofit organization that you do not recall was just awarded a business license and founded in September of 2022? And within a couple of months, it received a whopping $250,000 to this nonprofit organization, while hundreds of nonprofit organizations that have been clearly established in the CNMI for decades, that are well known, never received a penny. How do you feel about that, sir?
There's always room for improvement.
Thank you. All right. There certainly is room for improvement. And sir, the answers that we are getting today are golden. Because I am still in disbelief that this boost program, you still are defending it when so much we have on record today, that the facts that you've put out. You've said that you don't recall if there are conflicts of interest because they were verbal, but you didn't write them down, so they were verbal. But you don't recall if there were in fact conflicts of interest and people recuse themselves. From time to time they may have, but you can't specify, can't quantify. You obviously have told us there was no real rubric in the sense that for actual plans. So this One Mariana's Initiative got $250,000 but you can't really recall anything about it. Can't recall if Mr. Castro recused himself. But the facts are that this brand new nonprofit received $250,000, and we don't really know anything about it because it's a startup. What we do know is two of the three members listed on it are actually from Guam. One, we believe, is from CNMI. Two are from Guam. Now, why does that matter? Aren't we one Marianas? No, sir. For all intent and purposes, this boost grant was supposed to benefit the people of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, not Guam. Guam had their own program. You didn't see us flocking over to Guam and saying, "Hey, we want some program from this. We want some money from it." So you can understand the frustration from many of those who applied to find out that these awards were benefiting people from Guam and some businesses that actually opened up in Guam. First business to open up in Guam. Do you believe that that is fair for businesses or nonprofits from Guam to benefit from this boost program that was intended for people of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, sir? Yes or no?
Are you asking me for my belief?
Yes. You believe that's fair?
Not to my knowledge, what you're mentioning.
Okay, thank you. Now, you talked about unique businesses. Now, let's talk about unique. Out of the 241 businesses that we initially reviewed, the 241 businesses, there were dozens upon dozens. I didn't count the exact number, but I can assure you there was many dozens of them, and I think my colleagues and chairs will agree that they were apartment rentals. Apartment rentals or Airbnbs or some sort of. Mr. Taisegui, to your knowledge, as a resident here in Saipan, is apartment rentals a unique business?
I would believe so.
How is it unique?
As I understand that the cinema is facing inadequate rental units, and for that reason, the cinema NMHC is putting out a program to encourage landlord to increase their rental units inventory.
So, because NMHC said there is not enough apartment rentals, you feel that apartment rentals are a unique business in Saipan. Is that correct?
Ungan.
Okay. Just so you know, if you open up a paper or if you look at just about in social media, you will see several apartments that are actually advertised for rental. I know of several. And in fact, there are very many apartments on Saipan because it is a common way to earn money. It is what we call a passive income. Now, sir, if we're looking at helping businesses and stimulating the economy and trying to revive the economy, who does the apartment rental? How does apartment rentals benefit employees, jobs? Does it provide jobs for the CNMI apartment rentals?
Ungan.
Okay, I have 8 units of apartment rentals that I have with my mother-in-law and my mom and family. We have 8 units. Do you know how many employees we have for those 8 units of apartment rentals, sir?
Tutungo.
Okay, I'll let you know. It's one full-time maintenance worker for 8 units. Most people have 2 units, 4 units, whatever. Seldom do we have hundreds of apartment rentals. My point is, this is a passive income. It's my mother-in-law that owns it. But it is not a way to stimulate the economy because it is a passive income. It's not a unique business that is employing dozens of people. So it is a very common thing. So when you talk about unique businesses, apartment rentals are not one of them. But let's say they are. Do you understand the frustration when some people get apartment boosted for their apartments when many that turned it in did not receive a dime? Do you think that is fair when some received for apartment rentals while many were denied? What are your thoughts on that?
To my recollection, taza man ma-deny.
No one that applied for apartments was denied? Everybody that applied for apartment rentals for Boost was given money? 100%?
Taza ma-deny. Senior timan ma-review tabiya lo taza ma-deny.
You didn't deny them, but are you saying that every single applicant for apartment rentals received Boost? Yes or no? You're on the roll, sir.
O tunga.
You don't know.
Depende ko ma-review pati ma-review.
Okay, let's move on. But just for the record, there were many that applied for apartment rentals that did not receive because they contacted myself or others in this committee who said they never heard about the apartment rentals, but one of their friends did get it and they turned it in before this person. So there was no first come, first served basis. Is that true, sir?
Just to establish na no, the process is basically reaching in the no pulling out ganin
And what
Boxes.
process would that be, sir? Can you explain that process? Is this the process that you don't list conflicts of interest? You don't have notes? You don't have any way to gauge or explain or quantify the percentage of how much one business gets versus another? That's what we've observed from your testimony today, sir. Now, if I may, I just wanted to ask you a few questions with regard to Bank of Saipan. Mr. Taisigui, who was the one of your panelists that pulled the Bank of Saipan boost application? Who pulled it? You guys divide all these applications. Who pulled the Bank of Saipan's boost application? Was it you? Was it Mr. Atalig? Or was it Mr. Castro? Because there's only three possible people.
Ungan. I don't recall.
You don't know who did. Do you know who was reviewing it? Did all three of you review the Bank of Saipan's boost application?
The Bank of Saipan team involved for gano. By
The-
review.
Did you have any concerns at all about this boost program administrator, which is Bank of Saipan, also applying for a boost grant?
The program is open for everyone.
So you didn't see any conflicts of interest?
I was not involved in the review of Bank of Guam.
How about Bank of Saipan?
Dispensa. Bank of Saipan.
Okay. How did the Bank of Saipan, the administrator for the boost program, land the biggest boost grant of all? They didn't get boosted just once. They got boosted twice for over $500,000. How did that happen, sir?
I wasn't involved in the review of Bank of Saipan.
You were not involved at all. Do you know who was involved in that?
Ili ko kasi na remaining na those reviewer.
Did the governor have any involvement with that? Do you know of?
Not to my knowledge.
So he had no say in it. So it's either David Atalig or Will Castro. Is that correct? Or both of them?
Siya those remaining no review panels at involved for ni review Bank of Guam.
Bank of Saipan.
Bank of Saipan. Dispensa.
Okay. Thank you. What was your understanding of the role of Governor Torres in the boost process?
Guiza ultimate approval.
Ultimate approval. Like ultimate approval as in he has the final say and he can decide how much they get, right? Is that correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Wait. He has the final say?
He approves.
He approves. So he has the final say in how much they get. Is that correct?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, I'm confused. But he has the final say. So what if he
To our
does
recommendation. Unggan.
by your recommendation? Has he ever disagreed with you guys on the recommendation?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. So did he ever intervene in this process to add names to the list of approved awardees?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. Cam, at this point, could you pull up exhibit part 5, page 6? Do you have that? Sorry, maybe it's page 7. Governor, I think the man. Page 7. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. We have it there? Okay. So here's a communication. Sorry. Here's a communication between Mr. Will Castro and Mr. John Arroyo, the boost administrator, in which Mr. Castro indicates that Governor Torres made a quote unquote late addition of 3 more names to the list after it had been reviewed and finalized for the initial test run. Which names were added?
I have no knowledge.
You have no knowledge of this?
Unggan.
Did these names that were submitted from the man, from the Governor Torres, go through the review panel?
I have no knowledge of esti lilik niya.
So you have no knowledge of this whatsoever.
Unggan.
So how often did Governor Torres add names to the list that did not go through the review panel, as is seen right here, as plain as day?
I have no knowledge.
Okay, thank you, Cam. All right, moving on. Mr. Taisagui, did you declare a conflict of interest for any of the applications that you had reviewed?
Tanggino declare conflict of interest to review a business plan.
Which ones? Which businesses did you declare a conflict of interest that you could not participate?
Lovebirds.
Lovebirds? Okay. What is Lovebirds?
It's the name of a company, bar and restaurant.
Where is it located?
It's at Tinian.
And what is your conflict of interest, sir?
I have financial interest.
I'm sorry?
Why ko financial interest?
Financial. So you're part owner?
Unggan.
Okay, so part owner. So you recused yourself from this Lovebirds. Was there any other businesses that you recused yourself from?
Unggan.
Okay, what's the other business?
Saipan Horse Course.
Saipan.
Excuse me for a minute, Rep Ed. How much was Lovebirds awarded to your, do you recall? The restaurant that you own in Tinian? The restaurant and
Afi question.
how much was Lovebirds, the restaurant and bar in Tinian, awarded? the company that you are part owner of.
I recuse myself, Nino.
But how much were they awarded?
I don't think I should comment on that, so recusal.
But you are a recipient, you are a part owner,
Ikumpanya is a recipient.
but you are a part owner, you said.
Unggan din ang channel.
So how much was Lovebirds awarded?
Gaya gi record, no?
We want you to state it for the record.
Recusal.
Recuse you from what? From answering the question?
No,
You can't recuse yourself.
recusal from participating.
Was Lovebirds awarded $200,000? It's a yes or no question.
Sige no, nisita iso ko bugawan. Tutungo ko pa ba itu jang no.
He said, this is why I need an attorney. I don't know if it'll hurt me if I respond.
Shall we move on?
Pues tibay comment nino.
For the record, Lovebirds, the restaurant and bar that is co-owned by Mr. Taisagui, the witness this afternoon, it was awarded $200,000.
Point of clarification, Madam Chair.
You may state your point.
I'm just looking at the Bank of Saipan award listing now, and it actually indicates a total of 225,000 for Lovebirds Restaurant.
That is correct.
Okay, for the record, I stand corrected. It is $225,000. You may proceed.
Privilege, Madam Chair. Privilege.
State your privilege.
Mr. Taisugu, again, going back to the recordings. How can we prove that you recused yourself if there's no documentation? How do we know that you didn't vote or recommend this company? How do we know?
So, I'm under oath o sang niyo.
Without any recording proof, this is just hearsay.
I am under oath, Congressman.
So you mentioned that you are under oath, so you're afraid to tell the truth?
No, I'm under oath. I'm telling the truth na.
Okay.
Si Congressman is on yan, no comment is that no taimano na para bay potungo na urecuso jang gintaza record. Pues is give finono na under oath so sasangan ni minakain no recused.
Okay. What the witness tested and wants us to believe is that because he is under oath, he is speaking the truth. When Rep. Joel asked him, how do we know that you actually recused yourself when there's no records? Witness testified that he is under oath and that he's telling the truth, that he recused himself.
Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Taisagui, so Saipan Horse Course, you recused yourself, stating there's a conflict of interest. Are you part owner of Saipan Horse Course?
Aye.
What is your conflict of interest for Saipan Horse Course?
Through business associations.
Business associate? Business associations?
Mm.
Is that the answer? Okay. What other conflicts of interest did you recuse yourself for? What other businesses, sir? We have Lovebirds, we have Saipan Horse Course. Are there any
No,
others?
you're true no Flower Tea House.
Flower Tea House. And what is Flower Tea House, sir?
Man bendin no cha.
Cha.
They sell tea.
Yeah.
One question. How much was Saipan Horse Course awarded, Mr. Taisui?
Pareho atalo no dispensado sa recusal.
For the record, Saipan Horse Course was awarded $200,000 on October 21st, 2022. You may proceed, Rep. Ed. One other question. How much was Flower Tea House awarded, Mr. Taisugi?
Pareho atalo no recusal.
Where is Flower Tea House located?
Gaya cross no I Tahayat.
Mr. Taitsugui, was Flower Tea House open for the past several months or was it closed?
Kuha na biya ni mababa. Lopo di kondisyon ekonomiya no kuha na biya ni mababa.
It is sometimes open, but because of the conditions of the economy, sometimes it's closed. I don't know if I asked you this already, Mr. Taisugui. Do you recall how much Flower Tea House was awarded?
Tarewa ni peko na after na niya recusal.
My answer is the same. I recused myself.
What other business?
Why did you recuse yourself?
Business associates dyan no registered agents, I believe.
He is a registered agent of that company and business associates. For the record, let the record reflect that Flower Tea House was awarded $125,000 on October 27, 2022, and again a second award of $200,000 on December 13th, 2022, for a total of $325,000. You may proceed, Rep. Ed.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Taitsugui, what other businesses did you recuse yourself from?
Saipan Goddess.
Saipan Goddess. Can you explain to us what is Saipan Goddess? What business is that?
Ma-propose para maaksa no Saipan Tourism Center.
Where is it located, sir?
Marpi.
In Marpi.
This company is proposing to build a tourism center.
Ngan.
So proposing. Is it an established business already?
It's a registered business and established yet.
How much did it receive, sir?
Parewa talo recusal, you know.
So it is based on our numbers, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that we have $225,000 listed for Lovebirds. We have Saipan Horse Course listed for $200,000. We have Flower Tea House listed at $125,000 plus. I'm sorry.
A point of clarification,
Thank you.
Flower Tea House received a total of $325,000 in 2 boost awards.
That's correct.
Thank you. I stand corrected. So $325,000. And Saipan Goddess, how much did Saipan Goddess receive? Was that $200,000 or $100,000?
Mr. Taisugui, you may answer.
Parewa talo recusal.
Recused. Let the record reflect that on August 19, 2022, Saipan Goddess applied for $790,000, but was awarded $125,000 on October 27, 2022.
Is this total? Please help me with my math. $675,000.
I have no idea. We're not done yet.
All right. With several hundreds of thousands of dollars, Mr. Taisugui, that your business associate or association has benefited from. Mr. Taisugui, please understand that even if a panel member were to recuse him or herself, that person still benefits by his close relationship with the other 2 panelists. This is often looked at as a sweetheart deal, and ways that businesses are still awarded. Did Mr. Castro or Mr. Atalig ever talk to you about these businesses?
Oh, yeah.
Did any of them ever lobby for these businesses on your behalf or for your benefit?
Not to my knowledge.
Thank you. I just have a few questions to wrap up and then,
Uh,
sorry,
Sorry, just a point of clarification before we depart from this line of questioning, if I may, chairs.
please do.
Could we clarify what Mr. Taisagui's relationship was with Saipan Goddess?
Business associates.
Business associate for that. And I think it's already been stated for the record that Saipan Goddess received 125,000 on October 27th. And what is Saipan Goddess, Mr. Taisagui?
It's a company no proposing to build no tourism center.
Proposing to build a tourism center. In where?
Marpi.
Also in Marpi. So Saipan Horse Course is also proposing for Marpi. Saipan Goddess proposing for Marpi.
Yeah.
Okay, please clarify.
Saipan Horse Course is an existing business operating in Cagna.
In Cagman. Okay. So the Saipan Goddess is the new business. And did you say, so you recused yourself from Flower Tea House, Saipan Goddess, Saipan Horse Course, Lovebirds Restaurant, any other business?
Sakura Group.
Sakura Group. And why did you recuse yourself from that one?
Business associations.
Business associate. And how much did Sakura Group receive?
Pareho recusal nino. Ijo nailet tigwizeno.
Sakura Group LLC? Is that the group?
Engan.
Okay, according to Bank of Saipan's records, for the record, Sakura Group LLC received 150,000 on October 21st. Any other business, Mr. Taisagui, that you recuse yourself from?
Ano what?
What about Elite Group? Are you associated with Elite Group?
Elite Group gwizano DBA no Lovebirds restaurant.
So Elite Group is the same as Lovebirds?
yeah.
Okay. And are you only the part owner then of Lovebirds and Flower Tea House and the rest? Okay.
Part owner agi Elite Group.
And okay. And are you a part owner of any of the other ones?
Ay.
Okay. So by my math, then just for the record, we have 325,000 for Lovebirds restaurant, 225,000 200,000 for Saipan Horse Course, 125,000 for Saipan Goddess, 325,000 for Flower Tea House, and 150,000 for Sakura Group. Are these all the same owners, Mr. Taisagui, for all these companies?
Ay.
Okay. And who are the owners then? Let's just run through them. Who are the owners for Flower Tea House?
Tutungo ko sinya no pape disclose o recusal.
The articles of incorporation are public records. We have them,
Unggan denancho
We can
pues
publish it.
sinentingwa esta ochi.
but please enter for the record. I am directing you to
Ejige
answer
no
Representative
nisita
Tina.
bugaw
I
to make
am,
sure na tiu
it's
to
public record. I am directing you to answer Representative Tina Sablon's question. Who is the owner?
parewa o recusal.
Mr. Taisagui, You are subject to contempt if you do not answer Representative Tina's question.
Ilig mo nun sutsula record na persistente nga.
It doesn't matter what we know. It does not matter what we know. Please answer Representative Tina Sablon's question.
Tayo manwa usaungan na istigi na kasi no nisita abogado mga na pabay utsud I kompanya kat pabay tsuto como o recusal esto recusal.
This is why I need an attorney, because I do not want to hurt the company. May I recognize legal counsel? Recognize legal counsel John Bradley.
Refusal to answer a proper question by the committee under order of the chair could be considered to be contempt of court. Contempt of court, if successfully prosecuted, could result in both a fine and a jail sentence. It could result in a jail sentence of up to 1 year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000.
Thank you, counsel. I will now recognize the witness. Would you please answer Representative Sablon's question?
Pareho no sangan no by exercises ako no Fifth Amendment.
You're exercising your right under the Fifth Amendment to state the name of the owner of the companies that you have recused yourself from, that you have stated that you recused yourself from. Mr. Taisagui, when you plead the Fifth, you are telling us that your answer would be incriminating to you.
Te mano ijile ko na ijino nisita abogado no para u
But you
advice
freely chose, he's claiming that he needs his attorney here. You freely came today without
ungan na
an attorney.
u
And we are
comprende
here
no
today, we are here now.
malagzo by faisin is medyo legal counsel na jangin no answer no.
You cannot
I-
ask questions of our legal counsel, you can ask us. Willing to have that conversation with you.
Pues kumikilig mo na jangin u disclose estan na u recuse jo.
That's not an answer. That's not an appropriate answer.
Ay u
for the question.
fafasino sa linya sinya by faisin no.
Okay.
No. Na jang esten tingwa no recuse gini siya na kompanya. No. Fafaisin jo pa by disclose pago inani kompanya ni u recuse.
The name of the owner of the companies is what we're asking.
No, man, it's over a minute.
All right, Mr. Taisagui, we understand that you have invoked your right to plead the Fifth. as well as your right to testify without an attorney. And so with that, we understand that we may be going into an area where you may be incriminating yourself, and so with that, we will continue the questions, but I'll advise Rep. Sablan to continue with her line of questions, and Mr. Taisagui, whatever you are comfortable answering, you know, you have the right to continue answering or continue to plead the fifth, whatever you feel may incriminate you. And so at this time,
Si Mr.
Rep.
Chairman.
Sablan still has the floor.
Thank you. Just a few more clarifying questions. On your recusal in these 5 businesses that you've mentioned, Mr. Taisagui, did you actually write the business plans for these companies?
O review owners mo tumugi business plan.
Okay, so you assisted them in their business plans by reviewing their business plans.
Ungan.
But that was in your capacity as their agent or
Ungan.
business associate.
Ungan.
Okay. And then, in general, do you think it's fair for a review panelist to apply for a boost grant?
Un refer guato kisa ko ano? Como
Yes.
go manaplika?
Is it fair for a review panelist to apply for a boost grant?
I did not apply for a boost grant.
Aren't you the part owner of?
My company applied for the boost grant.
Okay. Is it fair for the owner of a company who is also a review panelist to apply for a boost grant for that company?
Un refer no guato kisa ko?
Yes, sir.
Como go
And in
manaplika?
general, is it fair?
Is again no recusal me.
So the answer is yes.
Is again no recusal.
And there was nothing in any of the guidelines that said that you couldn't, right? There's no restriction.
To my understanding, is again no recusal.
Mhm. Now, the total amounts awarded to these 5 companies comes out to $1,125,000, or approximately 11% of the total 10 million that was available at the beginning of this program.
Sorry,
And
point of clarification, you said 1,125,000?
that's what I've added it up to.
We have 1,025,000. Which, the 25 or the 1?
325,000 plus 200,000 plus 125,000 plus 150,000 plus another 325,000.
I thought there's 225. There's 325s?
Let's
Okay,
review.
let's start.
Let's
Lovebirds.
review. Flower Tea House got 325,000. Saipan Goddess received 125,000. Saipan Horse Course received 200,000. Lovebirds Restaurant received 225. Oh, it's 225,000. There, okay. And then Sakura Group received 150,000. And according to the Bank of Saipan records, this over $1 million were awarded to these 5 companies, these 5 businesses. They were awarded early on in the program. They were among the very first to get awarded, in fact. Lovebirds was one of the very first. They all got awarded in October, and then Flower Tea House received another award in December. Do you dispute these amounts, Mr. Taisagui?
Tamana leko no recusal.
So you're recusing yourself from disputing these amounts.
Kasi no diskutian na ud recusal.
I can't discuss it if I recuse myself.
Now, if you didn't review these applications, then who did?
remaining panelists.
So you're saying Mr. Castro and Secretary Atelig reviewed? these
Siya remaining
applications?
panelists.
They are the remaining panelists.
And did you discuss any of these applications with them?
Oh, yeah.
Is it a coincidence, Mr. Taisagui, that all of the applications that you claim you recuse yourself from were all awarded very generous amounts by the remaining review panelists?
No comment on that. I recuse myself.
Are you pleading the fifth for that, or are you just refusing to answer?
Kusang ngayon no recusal.
I'm telling you that I recuse myself.
And are you saying that all these applications totaling over $1 million were just randomly picked from the stacks by Mr. Castro and Mr. Atelig?
Pareho talo recusal.
Same thing. I recuse myself.
Are you recusing yourself from answering this question? Or are you pleading the fifth?
Kusang ngayon na tisinyo opinion so recusal.
I'm telling you that I can't answer that because I recuse myself.
Privilege, Madam Chair.
State your privilege.
My apologies, Hul. Earlier, you just answered me, Mr. Taisugui, that you said yes, you would grab your stacks and each individually review these applications, correct?
Unggan.
So you're telling me that out of thousands of applications, these random companies that you're associated with were randomly drawn by a fate of luck?
Unggan.
I don't know. I have a hard time believing that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Camacho. Before I give the floor back to Representative Tina Sablon, how much did Lovebirds apply for? That's your company.
Pareho talo recusal.
Did Lovebirds apply for $300,000 on September 8th, 2022?
No comments or recusal. Gwenogi.
No comments. Well, for the record, Lovebirds applied on September 8th, 2022, $300,000 and was awarded 2 Boost Awards. October 3rd, $125,000, and on October 17th, another $100,000. You may proceed, Rep. Tina.
Mr. Taisagui, did you receive payment to be a local agent for any of these companies?
Oh, yeah.
And would you just clarify who is Miss Yuan Jing or Alexandra Jing?
Pareho is the question na no recusal. Zani zangyen no ye owner ni business and no den recusal.
Just as I informed you earlier, if she is the owner of the business, then I recuse myself.
She's the owner of which business?
Pareho talo tisinyo opinion so recusal.
Same thing. I cannot answer that because I recuse myself.
So as far as the records that we've seen, Miss Jing is the owner of, it appears, at least 5 businesses that received Boost Awards. Is that correct?
Pareho talo by sangan. Tisinyo opinion so recusal.
But you know, because you're a part owner and you're a business associate, that these businesses include Flower Tea House, Saipan Goddess, Saipan Horse Course, Elite Group, and Lovebirds Restaurant. I don't know if she's associated with Sakura Group. But those other ones, yes. Would you agree?
Pareho talo rep. Just be open so recusal. Utungan in Chichili, record siya pesin in tingoy no siya.
I
Okay.
can confirm for the record that Miss Yuan Jing, also known as Alexandra Jing, is the part owner of Sakura Group
Okay.
LLC.
Okay. So all of those 5 businesses then. And what is your relationship with Miss Jing, Mr. Taisagui?
Business associates and a
Only-
partner at one of the business.
Okay. So only business.
Ungan.
Did the other members of the review panel know your relationship with Miss Jing and these businesses?
I have no knowledge.
When you recused yourself from the review of Miss Jing's applications, which are also your applications because you're associated with these businesses, how did you recuse yourself?
Verbally, I recuse myself because I have a financial interest. Than lokwi no business associates.
So you just did it verbally,
Ungan.
and you didn't document that recusal anywhere.
Oh yeah.
So when you did it verbally, who did you tell?
Review panel.
Who on the review panel did you tell?
Si Secretary of Finance and the Chief of Staff.
And did you leave the room when they were reviewing these applications?
I just elect not to participate in the discussion and the review.
Point of clarification, Madam Chair. My apologies again, Rep. Tina.
No problem.
Mr. Taisugui, we have the Secretary of Finance coming in, and if we were to ask him to verify whether or not you recused yourself from these specific companies, would they agree under testimony of oath?
The sino answer is the siya no po inopi.
No, but you just stated that they're the only people that know of your recusal. Since the fact that you guys do not document any of these things, how would they be able to attest that you have recused yourself from these companies?
The sino pa ba kwentos po siya polo the siya no under oath usangan. Esto menciona na mafaisino ko haji no tumung esto usangan no.
And if they were to inform the committee that you were a part of recommending these companies,
Recommending recusal in instant company siya.
and if they were to testify that you did not recuse yourself, you would be lying under oath today.
Tinikinay.
Okay, I just wanted to state that, Mr.
Okay.
Taisugui.
O comprende.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Rep. Sablan, you still have the floor.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, did you say, Mr. Taisugui, what kind of business is Sakura Group? What was their proposal?
Temana le ko recusal.
But you told us earlier what Saipan Goddess was, Saipan Horse Course. You know, we know Flower Tea House sells tea. We know Lovebirds is a restaurant. What kind of business is Sakura Group?
Tour company.
A tour company. Okay. Based on Saipan?
Ungan.
This is an existing company or a proposed company?
It's a startup company.
A startup. Okay. So I'm sorry, did you say whether you left the room or not when they were reviewing these applications?
I recuse myself not to participate in the reviews and no discussion. I don't recall whether I left the room, but gaigazo galungo.
Okay. And sorry, one more time. Did you discuss the nature of the boost applications for any of these businesses with the review panelists at all?
Oh yeah.
So ultimately, what we're seeing here is over $1 million awarded in boost grants to 5 companies owned by the same person, associated with the review panelist in one way or another. And these were just randomly selected from the pile and awarded first among thousands of other applications. Is that accurate, Mr. Taisagui?
Very well, recusal. Just no opinion, no comment.
Does it seem fair to you, Mr. Taisagui?
Very well, recusal, no comment.
If other applicants were to ask you to show them how this program was fairly applied, how these funds were fairly distributed, how all these applications were fairly reviewed, how would you answer them?
I have no comment on that.
You couldn't answer them. You would
No.
say no comment.
No comment.
That's what you would say to an applicant who has been ignored, who hasn't even received an acknowledgement, an applicant who has received nothing. Other restaurants, other tour companies that applied. That's what you would tell them? As a review panelist, as the director of economic development,
Taza
you have no comment?
Taza might ignore.
There are thousands that were ignored.
Di
Mr.
kumikilig niya na ma-ignore no rep.
It doesn't mean that they were ignored, Rep.
What does it mean then if they have not
Kumikilig
received
niya na
a
ti ma-review
response?
tabiya.
It means it hasn't been reviewed yet.
You can say that even now, knowing that there's no more money.
UOP question mo.
I'm answering your question.
Are you aware that Bank of Saipan has already announced that they will not be administering any more funds for this program?
Not to my knowledge.
You're not aware of that as a review panelist.
As of now. Taza tabiya no session mo akan tabiya.
I yield at this time, Madam Chair.
At this time, we will recognize any members who have clarifying questions or follow-up questions.
Just a few, Mr. Taisagui. Mr. Arroyo mentioned that he rarely saw Secretary of Finance go into the review or the room where they store these applications. And so at the times that you had recused yourself, was the Secretary of Finance always present during these review of the review of these 5 applications?
Always present. Hindi mafafaisin to.
Yes. When they reviewed these 5 applications in which you recused yourself from.
It could be. I don't recall.
So if that was the case, it would have only been Mr. Will Castro that approved these applications.
It couldn't have approved this application. It has to be 2 panel members.
Okay, so based on that statement, based on your previous 2 statements, all of this would have been approved by both Will Castro and Secretary of Finance.
Unggan.
But you don't recall if both sat in.
Unggan.
Why hasn't there? I know Rep. Joel mentioned that the last time the panel met was about 2 weeks ago, Tuesday. Why haven't you met since then?
I have no comment on that, probably because the person that has to call that is no si Castro. Sinasa po the holiday.
So it's Mr. Castro that calls every meeting to review.
Most of the time, yes.
So you would never walk in just to review your set of applications, and then when you come to meet, make the recommendation?
Yeah.
You've never done this independently, you
Aye,
just looked your
aye,
applications?
aye.
Have you ever communicated with Mr. Castro as to why he hasn't scheduled any meetings, seeing as how there are thousands of applications still pending?
No.
So you have not asked or inquired about any meetings?
Trabia.
Seeing as how the Secretary of Finance has resigned, has the Department of Finance assigned any individual to the panel to step in for Mr. Atherley?
Not to my knowledge.
Mr. Isigui, you said that Lovebirds is a business under the Elite Group. Is that correct?
Nga
Elite Group is a corporation.
LLC.
And so the board members for Elite Group authorized you or your partner to receive this award?
Trewa, no, I recuse myself on that one.
You recuse yourself? No, I mean,
No.
as a, as a, how do I say this? Shouldn't it have been the bank? President Arroyo stated that any corporation that was awarded a boost grant must provide a copy of a resolution indicating that the corporation has allowed or authorized.
Ungan.
Yeah. So does the Lovebirds does the owners of the do the owners of the Lovebirds have that authorization to accept the award?
Ungan.
Okay. Is that something that you can provide to the committee tomorrow?
By ungan gua copy nino.
All right. And that was recorded at the registrar?
No, te me recorded no.
All right. In the interest of time, I will yield for now, but we'll take two members before we recess until tomorrow. And so I will recognize the co-chair.
Thank you, Chairman Mangonia. Mr. Taisabi, you stated that you were not involved in reviewing the Bank of Saipan application. Why not? You earlier also testified that you would only recuse yourself if it was a family member applying, if it was a
Ungan.
business associate. Why did you recuse yourself from the Bank of Saipan application?
The recusal.
You earlier
Yes.
testified you did.
The recusal ni Bank of Com na to
Bank
involve
of
for
Saipan.
Bank of Saipan to involve for mo review and
We'll
Sige.
review the records, the recording tonight,
Okay.
and we'll clarify
Mm.
that, but thank you. You have stated, and as well as other witnesses, the governor is the final approval. Is that correct,
to my understanding.
to your understanding? If the governor was the final approval, why even require the services of a reviewing committee? Can you answer that?
Kay Manuel iko na izoku role is basically no para by represent na Secretary of Commerce ki review panel.
But why even have a review committee? The governor has final say. He can approve, disapprove, whatever he wants to do.
I have no comment that no, cause that's how it is structured.
Structured, but there is no structure.
Ungan the process.
Everybody that has come in here has talked about a process without any documentation. Do you see where the predicament is?
Ini process ni available para gawa ni ma-designate como representante i Secretary of Commerce.
That is the process that is available to me as a designee of the Secretary of Commerce. If other meetings were called by Mr. William Castro, would you participate in any further meetings?
Kung may kiling mo review panel meetings?
Yes.
Ungkan.
So you would participate in future meetings?
Jangging gwagwaha meeting, janggin ti mauutsumi programa ungkan.
I would attend if if the program was not closed yet. But it is closed. There's a deadline, November 18th. That was the final deadline. So why would there be a need for further meetings?
Janggin necesaryo na ni para makontinua, ma-review, i-mantetenan siya na aplikante. Pues, taniki janggin managwa meeting, pues tan kaya betendi.
Thank you. If there were other meetings made available, he would attend. Mr. Taisagui, the Federal Bureau of Investigation visited the Bank of Saipan last Monday. Do you care to comment?
I'm aware of that.
Can you share your thoughts with us on that?
I'm not sure what for.
You're not sure what for.
I don't know what's the reason for that one.
Based on the testimony of Mr. Arroyo, it was a subpoena for documents. Would you like to share with us your thoughts on that?
Not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge. Are you worried that the Federal Bureau of Investigation is investigating the Boost program?
No, I'm not worried because there's nothing to hide here.
Nothing to hide. Okay, I will yield at this time.
We'll take one more member if there's any. I recognize Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Taisagui, earlier you stated that you did not review the Bank of Saipan application, correct?
I was not involved.
So when you're not involved, you did not review it.
Ungkan.
Okay. Did you recuse yourself?
Oh, yeah, to recusal, so there's nothing to recuse kay Bank of Saipan. It's just that I'm not involved.
Was there a reason why you chose not to get involved in the review of that application?
Sati aware zo and I'm a review.
But when the application was reviewed by, so who did you say reviewed it?
If I don't review it, then it has to be the two remaining review panel.
So you're saying that you're not sure which of the two panel members reviewed it?
David no dos.
Okay, so one of them two reviewed it, right? Because in your testimony earlier, you stated that the applications are not reviewed by all three of you at the same time. It's one person who reviews it and then you guys have a discussion and then makes the recommendation, correct? So one of the two members reviewed it, Atalik or Castro.
I have no knowledge as to who.
Okay. Since you have no knowledge of who reviewed it and you were not part of the review, did they call for a session for you guys to discuss it and have a consensus on the decision on how much, whether or not to move forward with their application and how much to award them?
Taimano na process ang ginagawa hasta dos pues i-process yung recommendations niya malufan.
Okay, so they only needed two of the members to recommend and move forward.
Unggan.
Okay, so they just didn't call you?
I have no knowledge on that. I'm not sure what happened.
So the two panel members went ahead and just reviewed it and decided to move forward without your input and submitted it to the governor for approval.
I don't recall whether they reached out to me. I just don't recall. But I did not participate in reviewing.
Did you participate in the second time they were awarded? Because they received 2 awards.
I believe not.
So both times you were not part of the panel.
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. In your testimony earlier, again, you stated that it is your recommendation that applicants who were awarded in round 1 should be awarded the rest of the funds, correct? That was your testimony.
Ungan.
Okay. So based on that rationale, should those same applicants who have not yet received money in round 2 be expecting to receive a second award?
Ungan.
And you are making that recommendation not knowing how much is left in the boost program.
Ungan.
Okay. And then for those applicants who have received a percentage of their requested amount, but most likely will not be receiving any additional funding, if the intent of the program was to help boost them, so to speak, how are they supposed to move forward with their business plan if they have insufficient capital to do so? So let's say a company requested for 100,000. The panel recommended to award them 20,000. And then there's just no plan to fund the rest of their requested amount. Like, how are they supposed to move forward, especially if they're a startup company, right? Like, they're not even existing yet. They're proposing to start this business. Why bother giving them 20,000 and not the rest of the 100,000 that they need legitimately to create this company, operate it, if they don't have the sufficient funds to do so?
Yan ang klaseng question. Kasi best address guatuigi i-kompanya nyo maksepta.
Well, I'm asking because it involves the thought process, right? At the time when you're reviewing the application, right, you have determined, hypothetically, you have determined to award them 20,000 and not really probably. This is where the other line of questions I had is, how did you know ahead of time that you were going to be awarding them a second round, or the remaining balance of what they requested? Because what is the thought process that goes through your mind when you're reviewing these applications? If you're only awarding them 20,000 and the remaining 80,000 is up to them to figure it out, like, why bother even giving them? And is the program itself, Boost, gonna monitor or go back and check to make sure that they really did use the 20,000 according to what their spending plan is? Like, or is this just free money that, like, too bad you didn't have enough money to start your business, so do what you will with the money that we gave you?
Mauli keno na question, dyan mauli keno na thoughts, no? Lo, the time na ma-roll out is din a review panel went through the process, no? And ay ma-award ano na zaman mo akan na. Kisa guau siya no poditin mina. I'm pretty sure na natsuka kontu ma-appreciate that, no? Dati mateno get intention niya ko no paro u funajan pati funajan. Lo giparagua como gini commerce ne. O comprende este siya na tinaong no tenikya o okok sa lapi.
Mm.
No. Pues tangi nung fa-fashion ko concern ne. Guaha talo no opportunity. Isinya no man aplikas ti siya po manafunatan ni niya no business plan. Kaya manager mention esta na Guaha SSBCI is moving forward under commerce. No, pesistigi uno na funding opportunity per siya na. Sa sinya janggit may lek para makonsigi pues Guaha este na zuro pa siya.
So, and thank you for that clarification because it's important that people know that, right? And in that process, when you guys are awarded, do you notify those applicants that if for whatever reason you are not awarded the full amount that you are requesting, that there are additional resources aside from the boost program that they could avail of, just probably not in the form of grant, but probably a low interest rate loan, something like that? Or do you guys share that information with the applicants so that all hope is not lost?
No, I think tenikya no masusedi lo para pot Guaha este siya na klase no interruption ne. No tenikya gi kinemprende ko na tenikya programa program administrator. Tenikya man meeting i komite jamaatan no. Lo Secretary of Commerce está no komento sam po din no. It's just a matter of timing ne.
Mm.
Janggin esta toja esta fundo kay mano manunsya gi publicly na subject to the availability of funds senior terminate program without advance notice. No? Janggin mo teno na tempo esta na. Pues inigi teniki na sa uno gisti SSBCI na. Debidi na ugahay niya outreach program. Pues tenikya matsogue no, tenikya matungo po diste. Da depende pagwig siya ko para umavel ni ni para makonsigi mo na siya ni niya business plan.
Oh, no translating? Okay, thank you, Mr. Taisugui. I was curious, when these notices of awards go out, are there any conditions attached for the applicants so that they know? I mean, because this is a federally funded program, are there any conditions attached to these grants? And if so, what are they?
I think mas maulik no na i-bank of Saipan no answer. I'm pretty sure na Guaha. Na kondisyon sa janggin para gikunong pendeko na janggin para un pick up mo no award. Guaha dokumento un fifit ma. Un agree offer paron sogi dan offer tisina pon sogi.
Have you yourself ever seen that document?
Ungat.
So do you recall what it says on that document?
Kasi dokumento ni kumpanya ni no elite group ni afitma co-owner na ilalagyan na David non usa isinasalapi as unintended. Jan David lokwi na on safeguard is almost receipt for 5 years. No.
So there's a list of items under the condition that the applicants must adhere to and comply. Okay. And one last question. To your knowledge, as of today, are you aware of any additional fundings to be infused into the Boost program?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, so just mostly you.
All right. Rep Joel, you said you had one question.
Very simple question. Mr. Taisuguri, how does it make you feel? How do you feel that you're indirectly benefiting over $1 million in boost money, while many applicants out there are just, and even established small businesses that are struggling to this day, and they are huge contributors to the BGRT and our economy, that are just out there just hoping that they even get some boost money, while you sit here today and the committee finding out that you're indirectly benefiting over $1 million. How do you feel about that?
No. Point of clarification, Congressman. I recuse myself to these companies, though these companies are not my company.
But you are a business associate, so
I do not have any financial interest on these companies that I recuse myself, other than Elite Group.
So you are indirectly benefiting then from the group, Elite Group.
Elite Group is part owner. I have financial interest of that. That's why I recuse myself.
So what's the whole point of indirectly or recusing yourself from the other four companies if you don't have any financial interest?
Business associations than registered agent.
My last question to you, Mr. Taisugu, is knowing this, I mean, you see, you're a business associate of these people. Knowing that there are so many businesses out there just hoping to get some boost funds, why not make the recommendation to these companies that you're associated with to at least maybe return some of the money and maybe share the wealth until future funds come in?
Everybody is privileged to apply. Tisina na pa by dictate.
So is
Kompanya.
everyone privileged to the amount? All those business associates of you?
Every company is privileged to apply.
Regardless if some of them got 5,000 and requested for measly 50,000, yet these companies that you're associated with benefited over hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Everybody has the privilege to apply.
You know, Mr. Taisugu, maybe I would read.
Sorry, Rep Joel, we'll cut it there. At this time, Mr. Taisugu, there are two requests from the committee. One is from earlier, the email to regarding the second round. You mentioned that you may have an email that indicated that there will be a second round of awards given, and then the other one was the resolution authorizing to receive the award from Elite Group. And at this time, we will recess until 10:30 tomorrow. 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you.